and fast. So listen to the Daily Detail with Andrea Tice. Don't miss out.
The Daily Detail is available wherever podcasts are found.
Brookwood Middle School in Tuscaloosa County has been designated a priority school after receiving a D on the latest state education report card. The reasons stem from chronic absenteeism, with 19% of students missing 18 or more days last year. The school's overall score of 68 reflects multiple indicators, including academic achievement and growth. The designation allows parents to transfer their children to other schools, but Tuscaloosa County's other schools are full. I'm Katie Hyde in for Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
Hi there, I'm Kim Williams with Alabama Home Mortgage.
And I'm Madeline Cannon. And we have some exciting news to share with you. We've been serving the state of Alabama for many, many years. And now we are able and ready to offer the same great mortgage financing in Georgia and Florida as well.
Our company may be Alabama Home Mortgage, but now we can finance your Georgia home mortgage and your Florida home mortgage too. We couldn't be more excited to extend our customer base to our neighboring states. For years, we have had customers call us in hopes we could assist them with purchasing their vacation cabin in North Georgia or their dream home in Florida. And now we can. For those of you who have family and friends that live in Florida and Georgia, be sure to tell them the good news.
Whether you are looking to purchase or refinance a home located in Alabama, Georgia, or Florida, you owe it to yourself to give Alabama Home Mortgage a call at 567-4223. That's 567-4223, or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com to complete an application on your time.
It's not just a slogan. Call Alabama Home Mortgage because, folks, there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586-36-8, Equal Housing Lender.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
After damning politicians uphill and down dale for many years as rogues, vagabonds, frauds, and scoundrels, I sometimes suspected, like everyone else, I often expect too much of them.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
In politics, man must learn to rise above principle.
Can you get a cough, please? This is how you conduct yourself in a democracy?
Joey Clark.
Welcome into the program here on a snowy Tuesday in Montgomery, Alabama. Yes, it's snowing outside. It's odd for us. The entire Gulf Coast, by the way, now officially the Gulf of America, apparently, is also covered in snow. Very unusual for this part of the world. And so much to get to from the flurry of executive orders and everything happening yesterday with the inauguration of Donald John Trump to be the 47th president of these here United States. And joining me as he does every Tuesday, we have the one, the only Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Joey. Thank you. A pleasure to be on with you as always.
You have any advice to us Southerners who are freaking out about snow? It's like we get half an inch and everything closes down here.
Oh, God, I don't imagine it lasts down there. I mean, we have, to make you feel good, we have 10 inches where my farm is, and the temperature this morning was 5 degrees below zero. Oh. So the snow is like rock.
Oh, okay, yeah. Everybody in Mobile, my Monsignor uncle, who runs a cathedral down there in Mobile, he said, yeah, the whole cathedral, everything's covered in snow, which is unusual. Once in a generation sort of thing going on here in the state of Alabama. And, you know, so much happened yesterday. Before we get into particulars, I kind of just want your general reaction to the inauguration and the festivities, but then also, you know, more the legal side of things. What's your sense of Trump's inauguration yesterday?
Well, you know, it was a very happy moment for him, and a remarkable Churchillian, Nixonian turnaround from the profound rejection and prosecutions of 4 years ago. I thought the speech was a little dark and lacking in energy, but he did touch all the points that he wanted. Not crazy about all the pardons because some of those people did real damage and real harm, but it's entirely his authority to do so. His efforts to nullify the 14th Amendment should be enjoined by the end of the day today by the first federal judge who will receive the complaint filed by 18 state attorneys general, and properly so. He can no more deny birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment than Joe Biden or Barack Obama could have denied the right to keep and bear arms under the Second Amendment. If presidents could do that, then it wouldn't be a constitution.
Now, on that one in particular, I definitely wanted to ask you about that. They're hanging their hat on the one part of the 14th Amendment that talks about subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And sometimes they bring up, say, diplomatic immunity with diplomats and children of diplomats born here. Do you think by signing this, and it seemed like that very casual press conference, they almost knew, like, yeah, we're picking a fight in the courts. Is the goal to get this in front of the new Supreme Court?
I don't think they're going to prevail there. I mean, if he really, really wants this, the time to amend the Constitution is now, while he's at the height of his popularity. It's not easy. It takes 2/3 of each House of Congress and 3/4 of the state legislatures. But if you look at the electoral map from last November, he has 3/4 if they were to follow in line with him. I don't know what each state rules are like. Most state rules require 2/3 or 3/4 of each house of a state legislature. That varies by states. But if you want, the only way to do this is to amend the Constitution. And subject to the jurisdiction thereof was for the reason you stated, to prevent the offspring of diplomats who are here but not subject to the jurisdiction of the Constitution. You know, you can run somebody over with your car if you're a British diplomat. They'll ship you out of the country, but you're not going to be here for the consequences of what you did with the car because you're not subject to the jurisdiction.
Whereas if you run over somebody...
any of your children born here, U.S. citizens, because of that clause.
And if you are, say, an illegal alien and you run over somebody with your car, you can be arrested and tried and convicted here in the United States.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
The diplomatic immunity laws are horrific, but they were written to protect American diplomats. So the protection we give foreign diplomats is what each of those countries gives our diplomats. Otherwise, they would be trumping up all sorts of ridiculous legal reasons to interfere with the freedom of our diplomats. And of course, as you know, most of our diplomats are not diplomats. They're CIA agents.
Oh, well,
pretending to be diplomats. They don't want that said, but this is no state secret. A lot of people know this.
Well, and there's so many moving parts to this. You just made me think of how do you regard Marco Rubio? He sailed through the Senate 99-0. I guess that's a courtesy of him having worked with so many of the senators for all these years. But I'm skeptical of Rubio.
He's a neocon Zionist. The only change is that he's Catholic and Blinken's Jewish. Otherwise, their views are nearly identical on everything.
Well, there you go. And when it comes to Biden out the door, we mentioned Trump's pardons of it was 1,500, 1,600 January 6 defendants, or some folks have been convicted. But Biden on the way out the door pardons Anthony Fauci, General Mark Milley, everybody on the January 6th committee, and then goes on to pardon both of his brothers and his sister.
Well, that could be very dangerous for him. Not the pardoning of Fauci, Dr. Fauci or General Milley. The Fauci, when Rand Paul's on my show, Judging Freedom Thursday, and I know he's furious over this because, as you know, he's a physician. He has credibly accused Dr. Fauci of lying under oath. So that's a very serious one. The case against Milley, that's not a real case at all, but I understand why, not a criminal case, but I understand why Biden pardoned him. But pardoning Fauci stops a real serious and likely prosecution. But pardoning his relatives shoots himself in the foot. Why? Because when you accept a pardon, you lose your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. So if the House Oversight Committee, headed by Jim Comer, were to subpoena Joe's brother and sister-in-law and say, did you ever receive funds and funnel them to your brother-in-law when he was the vice president of the United States? Before today, the answer would be, I respectfully decline to answer under the Fifth Amendment, which gives me the right to remain silent. They don't have that right anymore, so they'd have to answer truthfully. And the truthful answer may be enough to inculpate Joe.
Wow. And also, real quick on the Fauci thing, I think this goes all the way back to 2014, which it's shocking to me. Let's take a decade of a man's life, and that's a key date because Barack Obama outlawed gain of function in the United States and all sorts of, say, creative rules where Fauci was saying, you have no idea what you're talking about, Senator Paul. Like, it had to do with all that bureaucratic legalese. That one really just stinks to high heaven.
Well, the statute of limitations on perjury in the federal system is 5 years. So 2014, he can't be prosecuted either way. But now he can't be prosecuted for anything. Now, they could call him in and ask him questions.
And he doesn't have the fifth.
Like Joe Biden's relatives. And if he lies in that setting, he is not immune from prosecution. And he can't refuse to answer because he doesn't have a Fifth Amendment right. So it's a bit of a catch-22 for these people. As far as I know, they've accepted these pardons. They could show up and say, well, I rejected the pardon.
Now,
and therefore, I have a Fifth Amendment right. Whereupon Comer will say, okay, we're referring your case to the DOJ before the statute of limitations expires.
No, that just seemed like that's bold too. And it's almost, I don't want to jump at it's an admission of guilt, but when you're covering your entire family in that way, it comes across as like reporting done by people like Miranda Devine and based on the laptop that Hunter left. Like it seemed like there was a family business there, and maybe a lot of people, if not most of them, who make money watched him play that same game, working off the family name. But it just, that one seems incriminating, not in a literal sense, but it just smells to high heaven.
Doesn't look good at all. Now, Bob Hur, H-U-R, remember him?
Yeah.
The prosecutor who investigated Joe Biden's misuse of classified documents, concluded that he couldn't be prosecuted because of his mental status. He's too mentally degraded to be a criminal defendant, but he's not too mentally degraded to be the president of the United States and pardon people. He might be too mentally degraded to be prosecuted no matter what his relatives admit to under oath. So whatever they admit to under oath would go to tarnishing what little remains of his legacy.
It's pretty incredible stuff. And now,
I've known him for years, but the Biden I knew was a very different human being than the one that just left the presidency. Same person, of course, but a very different human being. The one I knew was energetic, vibrant, engaging. Gosh, I remember a conversation with him on a train. And then the train stopped. He went where he was going. Secret Service took him away, and I went where I was going. 3 days later, we ran into each other at a cocktail party. There were 1,000 people there. He made a beeline to me, and we resumed the conversation exactly where we had left off. I couldn't imagine him doing that today.
Now, it brings up another question I want to lead into your op-ed from last week. Power does seem to change people. Are there other folks that come to mind, especially if they got to the top, like a vice president, a secretary of state, a president, where you've seen a change in people up there, where it does seem from the outside looking in from this humble perch, like Mike Johnson's a good example, or as we could talk about in a second, Tulsi Gabbard. Like, what happens to these people?
Well, Mike Johnson and Tulsi Gabbard are birds of a feather. They both were against Section 702 of FISA, which permits warrantless spying, when they were ordinary members of the House. When Mike became Speaker of the House, he's in favor of it. In fact, he left the chair to come down to the floor of the House and vote. Very rare for him to do that, for any speaker to do that, in order to break the tie to reenact it. And Congresswoman Gabbard was not only against 702, she was an outspoken opponent of warrantless spying, until some Republican senators told her staff she's not going to get all the votes she needs if she doesn't change her mind on this job, because she's going to be the sole briefer of the President of the United States on intelligence matters. And if she excludes from those matters that which was obtained by warrantless spying, we'll know about it. The intelligence community will tell us. What does that tell you? They don't give a damn about the Constitution and their copy of the Constitution as a whole, where the Fourth Amendment should be.
Right. There's always that, I guess the unspoken, unwritten rule is the national security exception. Well,
that national security exception is why the TikTok ban was upheld. Yeah. The Supreme Court effectively reversed the Pentagon Papers case and said national security trumps free speech, a reprehensible anti-Madisonian decision, which is what I'm writing about today for this Thursday.
Well, and, I often begin the show with this line.
In politics, man must learn to rise above principles.
It's from the very end of an H.L. Mencken essay called The Politician. And it's really, I think that's Oliver Platt reading it, the actor. And it really is something that I keep noticing over and over again, that even the folks you like, even the folks that are personable and like good company, they, for some reason, when they get closer and closer to the center of power, they start to rise above their principles. And
because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, and it's such an aphrodisiac, people will do almost anything to retain it.
Certainly true. Just look at the women Kissinger was able to pull. So coming up on Judging Freedom, I just heard, as you said, Senator Rand Paul on Thursday. I'll definitely be tuning in for that.
Senator Rand Paul on Thursday, John Mearsheimer on Thursday, and Jeff Sachs on Thursday, Colonel Douglas McGregor on Thursday. Thursday's a big day for me. Later today, Matt Ho and Karen Kwiatkowski.
And I'd imagine, I should ask you this earlier, is it too early to know whether this ceasefire hostage exchange is a prisoner swap is holding, or, I mean, what are you seeing there?
All of my people are saying it's not a ceasefire. It's an inauguration day pause. Netanyahu will not stay in office much longer unless he resumes the violence, and he knows it.
Man, as Trump said yesterday at that press conference, he said, I don't know. It's their war, not ours. So
I wish he meant what he said.
We will see. I always appreciate it, Judge. And till next week, God bless her.
Thank you, Joey. All the best.
That's the one, the only Judge Andrew Napolitano, folks. Always appreciate him spending some time here on the program. This part of the program brought to you by Josh and Leslie Ryder there at Dillon Rings. And at Dillon Rings, they're always ready to help you out with your jewelry selection. In fact, they're a full-service jewelry shop. So that means they can help you with, yes, selling you great jewelry they currently have in stock, or they can do custom design work. Maybe you want to combine two pieces of jewelry you've inherited or were gifted, or it could be you're looking to make something out of whole cloth, like something you dreamed up. Josh Ryder, he's so talented. That guy can make your dreams a reality when it comes to that custom design jewelry. But full service jewelry shop means they do things like appraisals, they do things like repairs, spa treatments. They do it all there at Dillon Rings. And if you go to their Facebook page today, they're participating in the, snow theme, a little snow and ice inspired diamond jewelry on a cold wintry day. Stay warm and be careful out there, folks. That's a message from Josh Ryder, the man himself. They're going to be closed at 2 p.m. today because of potential icy travel conditions there at Dillon Rings. But remember the 4 Ps: people, pets, plants, and pipes. A little PSA there from Josh Ryder at Dillon Rings. But if you go to that post, you can see the beautiful, say, snow and ice themed jewelry they can put on. Whatever the theme, whatever the idea, they've got something going on when it comes to jewelry with Dillon Rings. So y'all check them out today. You can always go to Facebook or Instagram, just Dillon Rings, DYLAN Rings, or to go to DillonRings.com. And you can always stop by 119 Brown Springs Road here in Montgomery, just off of Atlanta Highway. It's kind of the old backside of the AUM complex before you get to Taylor Road. I tend to remember it's where the old Fun Zone, the big platform for the skate center, is. And be sure when you stop by there to tell them that Joey, that guy on the radio, sent you. Coming up, we should have Congressman Gary Palmer calling us at about 12:30. Look forward to talking to Congressman Gary Palmer. Also, I believe Dr. Stuart Tankersley will be stopping by today. All sorts of folks are closed up today. A lot of businesses just completely shut down. Yeah, it's kind of amazing. We are ill-equipped for this in the South. And also at 1 o'clock, we should have Rich Thomas of Rich Thomas Weather. I think you've heard of the guy, right? The famous Rich Thomas. Well, Rich Thomas should be joining us a little bit after 1 o'clock, 1:05 or so, to give his update, his latest updates on what we should expect. It is still little flurries coming down, not too much sticking to cars and rooftops, but it's not sticking too much to the ground at this moment. But I kind of was a pleasant surprise when I stepped out to get into the vehicle this morning, seeing snow once again here in these parts. But again, be careful. Be careful out there and make sure to drip those pipes, if you know what I mean. Better to spend a little extra on water for a day or two than have a burst pipe or whatnot. Hate to see that. Now, as you look at the rundown of what Trump signed, I think it was 43 executive orders that Trump signed yesterday. And the press conference that Trump put on while doing the signing was something I don't think I've ever seen. He's sitting in the Oval Office, behind his desk in the Oval Office, and he's being handed by an aide declaring, this one's about declaring an emergency at the southern border. This one's about pulling out from the Paris Climate Accords. This one's about withdrawing from the World Health Organization. This one's about establishing DOGE and having a DOGE point person in every major, leadership position in all the agencies in the government. I mean, and it went on and on and on, but it wasn't just like, oh, here it is, sir, sign it. Trump, through that whole process, had the press in there and just casually took questions, and remarkably, the press behaved themselves. Trump also seemed just more relaxed than I can remember him ever being. It's like a huge weight is off the man now that he's back behind the desk in the Oval Office, and just very casually dealing with the press as he's signing all these executive orders. In fact, there was one moment with Peter Doocy of Fox News. Presidents, as one is on the way out and another coming in, the one on the way out, the president on the way out, will write a personal letter or note to the incoming president and leave it for him in the desk there in the Oval Office. And Trump was asked about that by Peter Doocy, and he hadn't even thought of it. And he thanks Peter for, reminding him of that tradition.
President Trump, did President Biden leave you a letter?
He may have. Right? Don't they leave it in the desk? I don't know. Oh.
What's in there?
Thank you, Peter. It could have been years before we found this. Wow. Thank you.
Can you stay on the outside?
Maybe we should all read it together.
Let's read it.
Well, maybe I'll read it first and then make that determination.
That sounds great.
Peter, thank you very much. I may not have seen this for months.
Happy to help with the passing of the torch.
I did. I left him one in the desk just like this.
So just a very casual Trump as he's doing this flurry of executive actions. He also has already revoked the security clearance for John Bolton. He's going to suspend security clearances for the 51 intelligence officials who lied that Hunter Biden's laptop had all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation, despite their weasel words that let them wiggle out of a clear statement. It was very clear they used the prestige and essentially the idea that I'm relying on my security clearance and inside information to make this determination. We all worked at the CIA. We all worked at the NSA. We all know things that you, the average American, don't know. And we're telling you that laptop has all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. Of course, it was Hunter Biden's laptop. And so Trump is going to suspend the security clearances of the 51 intel officials who did that. I say, bring it on. And there's going to be a full review of top brass leadership. You already have the public firing of many members, leaders within the military. I think the leader of the Coast Guard was just let go in a very public way. I think they are serious about what they mean. And when you see the big pardons for all the January 6 folks right at the top, well, it shows, I think, he means to keep his promises. A lot of libertarians wondering about that promise to pardon Ross Ulbricht, the guy who was caught up, the man who created the Silk Road website, who was made an example of, and many believe unfairly and unjustly, at least those who have read and looked into that story of Ross Ulbricht, and it looks like that might very well happen. Also, the reversal of the electric vehicle mandate, a directive on inflation to cut all sorts of red tape and regulations to help reduce the costs for all sorts of products and services across the United States. a big emergency on harnessing Alaskan energy, emergency to shut the border, send the military to secure the border. It's all happening very, very quickly. And we will see on the congressional side how quickly things move. In just a moment, we should have Congressman Gary Palmer on the other side of this. Before we hit the break, this part of the program brought to you by Bo Goodson and the Goodson Group. And there at the Goodson Group, Bo and his team are ready to help you with buying or selling here in the River Region real estate market. And it's not just buying and selling here in the River Region real estate market. They also have management services available should you want to rent out your home. Great idea in this market. And the crown jewel there is the Bo Goodson Real Estate School. It's one of the most highly acclaimed and accredited in the state because of just how interactive the course is, because of Bo's 50 plus years of experience. And just look at all the folks that have graduated from the Bo Goodson Real Estate School and gone on to great success, whether as more knowledgeable private players or fully licensed real estate agents. So y'all check them out today. You can always go to thegoodsongroup.com or give them a call at 551-0225. That's 551-0225. Bo Goodson and the Goodson Group, great sponsor here of the program.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
With winter storm weather on the way, our friends at Alabama Power are prepped and ready for the added challenges that ice, falling trees, and extreme temperatures can bring. And you can also take steps to prepare. For winter storm safety tips and how to manage cost and energy usage while staying warm, visit alabamapower.com/winter weather or alabamapower.com/winter. Alabama Power's top priority is to keep the lights on and the heat running no matter what Mother Nature sends our way. Everybody stay safe and warm out there.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
Adams Drugs has been committed to the healthcare of the people of the River Region for over 62 years. We value the trust each customer has in our pharmacists, techs, and entire staff. If you have not experienced the difference of Adams Drugs and are not satisfied with the customer service that you get in the big box stores, we invite you to visit any of our locations and see how committed we are to your satisfaction. Adams Drugs offers a variety of services that you will not find in all pharmacies in the River Region. Personalized compounding, area-wide delivery, wellness screenings, immunizations, medication consultations, and specialized packaging, just to name a few. Visit us at our website, adamsdrugs.net, and find the location nearest you. Adams Drugs has 12 convenient locations to serve you. Your satisfaction is our #1 goal. Adams Drugs is your local Health Mart pharmacy. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Riverside Chevrolet Wetumpka. If it's Chevy, it's Riverside. Best price, best selection. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net.
Rich Thomas Weather. Well, hi, everybody. The snow continues to fall here in central Alabama with a whitening of the ground and some of the roofs, but no significant accumulation is expected here. It's really South Alabama where they've already seen up to 2 inches of snow in some spots. The farther south you go, the better the chance. Today's high may not make it out of the 20s, low tonight down to about 15, so we do expect treacherous driving conditions in the morning as the roads refreeze. Then improvement tomorrow afternoon with a high temperature up to about 38, so things will get better for the afternoon commute on Wednesday. Our weather app will keep you on top of the action. It's free in the App Store. Just search Rich Thomas Weather. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Budget Floors and More is your low price leader for everything you need for flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies. For the best prices on luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, flooring installation supplies, and more, shop Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey to Publix.
If it concerns your community, you'll hear about it on News Talk 93.1. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to a snowy day here for a radio show. I know everybody is like taking the day off. I mean, come on, y'all. It's barely even snowing outside. Might be a little dangerous a little later tonight, early morning tomorrow, but we'll get Rich Thomas's word on that before too long. As promised, joining us now, looking forward to this conversation, we have Congressman Gary Palmer here from the great state of Alabama. Congressman, how are you today?
I'm good.
Good to hear.
I think, is it colder in Montgomery than it is up here?
I think it is. It's shocking to see the Gulf Coast, now the Gulf of America, blanketed in snow. I need to call up Jerry Carl or Barry Moore or somebody.
Yeah, it's all that climate change. You know how that is.
You're right. It just keeps on changing, even with the changing narratives. So yesterday, it was such a big event. I just want your general reaction to all the festivities, the swearing in and inauguration of President Trump.
Well, first of all, I really hate that so many people came up from Alabama hoping to see in person the inauguration. But inside the rotunda, it really was moving. It was special. And I just have a sense. I just had a meeting with a group of conservatives from the European Parliament. One was from Cyprus, one from Italy, and one from France. And I think there is a whole world movement of conservatives, and right in the middle of it is Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, it seems to be inspiring across the globe. To back up your point, I think the New York Post and many others are showing that, like, the left across the globe, whether you're talking France, Germany, or the UK, like, they're not winning elections anymore.
Same things in Canada. I had breakfast with the former Canadian ambassador to the United Nations, and Trudeau's government's coming down. I think you're going to see a major swing to a conservative government in Canada. We've seen it in Argentina with Javier Milei. He was here yesterday. Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, was here yesterday. And I've been talking to a number of diplomats from around the world, and Joey, there's just a new realization that things need to change, and that we've got an opportunity to do something historic, to be a part of something historic. And what happened yesterday with President Trump swearing in J.D. Vance, and then the president's executive orders, and particularly the one that he signed on declaring energy as essential to our national security and declaring a national security emergency, is going to put us in a position to get things permitted and start moving us in a much more strategic direction than we've been on.
Now, is that mostly just focused on Alaska, or does that kind of free up everything around the country in general?
Well, I've had some input into this, and it's going to be much broader than just energy, and I think it's going to free it up throughout the country. It's not just Alaska. We have actually explored very little of the outer continental shelf in terms of energy production, but there's so much within the lower 48. There's one formation out west that holds 3 trillion barrels of recoverable oil. It's in the form of keratin, but that's 3 times what the entire world's used in the last 100 years. The more critical part is the critical minerals and rare earth elements, and this is a large part of what I talked to the Trump team about, and our very dangerous reliance on China for these materials. There's not a single major refinery for rare earth elements in the Western Hemisphere. There's only 9 in the world, and 8 of them are in China. The other one's in Malaysia. So I think and Europe's waking up to this as well, that we're dangerously reliant on China for things that are absolutely essential to our national security.
Is this part of the reason for the play for Greenland?
Yes, absolutely. And people think that that's just some crazy Trump talk, but no, it's a national security issue. And we have a Space Force base on Greenland, and they've got a huge supply of critical minerals and rare earth elements. I actually have a meeting with someone from the Norwegian embassy today about this. I was been visiting with, had a couple of meetings with the ambassador, And Norway is ahead of everybody else in terms of identifying the locations for critical minerals and rare earth elements in their country. But we still have the problem. We don't have the processing capacity or the refining capacity. And China controls, like on cobalt, China controls 80% of the processing capacity, and on rare earth elements, over 90%.
Yeah, and it is crucial, especially, I think the preview of a big announcement today about more AI infrastructure. When you look at the latest and say, the advanced microchips and advanced computing, this is crucial on so many levels. And we've talked about this before, onshoring and nearshoring a lot of supply chains for national security, but just other reasons that make a lot of sense.
Yeah. On AI, you have to have an order of magnitude more energy production than we're doing right now, and you will not get it from renewables. I know that's maybe one or two of your listeners. It's just not going to be there. And Eric Schmidt, who was the CEO of Google, has come 180 degrees from all this Green New Deal renewable stuff to now he's saying everything's on the table for producing energy because we're in a arms race, not only for artificial intelligence, but quantum computing. And it, like I said, requires enormous amounts of energy, but also enormous amounts of water to cool these facilities, which we have a huge advantage over China. Canada has a huge advantage. So we got to get our head out of the sand and realize the really difficult situation we put ourselves in because we've just been stupid.
Yeah, I couldn't put it better myself. We've been stupid. Again, we're talking to Congressman Gary Palmer. And so these executive orders are doing a lot. But on the congressional side and what needs to pass through Congress to really hit the ground running here, especially where you're sitting in the House, Republicans have a very thin majority. From where you're sitting, does it look like things will get done? And what are sort of the big ideas? I know there's been talk of one big, beautiful bill or maybe a few skinny reconciliation bills. Where do you think this shakes out?
It's going to be one big, beautiful bill, and we would only have one other opportunity to do reconciliation. We can only do it twice. And it's tied to that we didn't pass the fiscal year 25 budget, so we can use that for the one big, beautiful bill. But we could do it again on the fiscal year 26 bill as well. I've been very involved on the reconciliation effort. I've been tasked with working with the outside groups. As you know, I helped set up a national network of think tanks. And we want to have some outside people doing the estimates on the benefits of this and not just relying on the Congressional Budget Office because they're so political. But I think we're going to be able to do the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act through reconciliation, but I think we're looking at doing some stuff on immigration to secure our border through that process. And I've been working hand in hand with the Budget Committee Chairman on a lot of smaller dollars, it's not small dollars, but improper payments. Joey, we send out about $240 billion per year in improper payments, and every dollar of it's borrowed. We're paying interest on money we shouldn't be sending out. If we just cut that in half, that's going to get us about $1.25 trillion over 10 years when you include the reduced interest. I'm working with the chairman of the Financial Services Committee on how we might be able to use energy and critical mineral resources that we have to back up our debt to improve our bond rating, and that will bring down our interest costs. So we're looking at everything that we possibly can to reduce our spending and to eliminate our deficit and start bringing our debt to GDP down to something that we can manage.
Is the debt ceiling still being kicked around as sort of a part of the negotiations? I'm kind of two minds on this in the sense that if I put myself in like the shoes of somebody representing people in Congress, I almost don't want to raise the debt ceiling, but it's always raised. So at this point, like it's sort of a ceremonial thing. Like we argue about it and then we raise it all of a sudden. But do you think the debt ceiling is going to be done away with, or what's going to shake out with this?
Well, one of the reasons I went to the chairman of the Financial Services Committee is I told him that every 2 years having to vote to raise the debt limit is like a guy hitting himself in the head with a baseball bat, going to the doctor and complaining about a headache. It falls in that stupid category too. But at the same time, I don't know if we want to do away with it. What we want to try to avoid is the disruption in the financial market that this lack of certainty brings. And one of the things that I'm suggesting is that we back up our debt with hard assets like oil and natural gas and coal. The known reserves are worth over $40 trillion. And when you throw in what we know the known reserves of critical minerals, that's another $10 trillion. If we said that we're, first of all, as Trump is doing, we're going to have a major expansion of our energy production and have some of that money set aside to back up our debt. If we hit a debt limit and Congress enact within, say, 15, 20 days, whatever, we would start paying our creditors out of the fund. I think it would improve our bond rating and lower our interest rates because our bonds have been downgraded to AA status. That makes borrowing money even more expensive. So, like I said, I'm thinking out of the box, in the box, on the box, under the box, any place that we can find a way to reduce our spending, we're looking at it.
No, I have to ask you about this if I haven't already. I'm a big proponent. I've been watching and looking at the cryptocurrency, in particular Bitcoin, since 2013. So it's kind of crazy to think I've been looking at this stuff for over a decade now. And to see its growth is pretty remarkable. Where are you on something like a Bitcoin strategic reserve, or in general, also the conversation around sounds like the cryptocurrency industry wants clear regulations. They want clear rules of the road, and they've been tired of being in this sort of regulatory limbo for so long. But as you've talked to folks about this, looked into this a little bit, how do you view this new technology?
Well, it's technology, and I'm concerned about it because it's not backed up with hard assets. It's an electronic transaction, and but it's got its place. But I will never support a central bank cryptocurrency, and I don't want it to replace the dollar. That just plays into China's long-term ambitions in a way that I think it would be dangerous for the country. Doesn't mean that there's not a place for Bitcoin. That I don't think we want to get away from the people knowing that the full faith and credit of the United States is backed up with something tangible, like a hard asset, whether it's gold or critical minerals or energy resources.
Well, and for folks who don't know, I mean, obviously we have our military side of things, but our economic power is immense right now with the continue to have the World Reserve, and there's a lot of different tools in the toolbox, so to speak, having that World Reserve status and having the dollar as king.
Well, that's one of the things that makes products affordable. But going back to the thing about backing up your reserves, your currency, China has been in a major buying spree of gold. I mean, they are amassing huge amounts of gold, and their currency, the yuan, is in a 16-month low. So I'm kind of looking at it because China's economy is not doing well. And I'm sort of looking at, why are they buying all this gold? And I think it's a play against the dollar. Brazil, Russia, India, China formed this thing they call BRICS. Saudi Arabia is in that as well. That is a play against the dollar. Well, it's gone all that well. Now, I think about 9 other nations have joined this effort. So China is not going with a cryptocurrency. They're trying. They're buying gold, like I said, like crazy. So we're not going to use our gold reserves, which I think are the largest in the world, as the is hard money to back up our currency, but I think we've got other ways to do it. I mean, the spectrum out there, that if we were to auction spectrum space, that's worth probably $150 billion.
Right.
So, and again, I'm nerding out on you, and your listeners are probably getting their afternoon nap. But there, if your listeners don't remember anything else that I've said other than this, there's a way to fix this.
Here. And honestly, there are moments, Congressman, where I don't care what the audience thinks. I'm enjoying it. And so.
Well, and you're by yourself, so you can do what you want to.
Before I let you go, and this is kind of a general question, but is there something that you've been focused on in Congress that nobody ever asked you about that you really want to talk about and tell the folks about?
Well, I didn't say anything about these recommendations that I've made to the Trump team, but the thing that I'm working on right now that I think has enormous potential, and I've been told the Trump administration wants to turbocharge, is I've been working on for 3 years to get a Western Hemisphere alliance started as a soft power alternative to China. And it's all focused on building out energy infrastructure in emerging economies in sub-Saharan Africa and Latin America, but not with government aid, through collaborative private investment. And I just had these members, the conservative members of the European Parliament in here. I've had diplomats all over Europe, Central Asia, the Pacific, South and Central America. And I went down to Argentina for Javier Milei's inauguration, met with the vice president and some of the other key officials. And I'm telling you, there's an opportunity here. And again, it's private investment, not government aid. And if we do this, it'll help us. If they can build out a reliable energy infrastructure in these emerging economies, it's going to help us secure our supply chain. It's also going to help them develop a middle class that over time will create a new marketplace for us. But the most important thing is it ties these countries to the United States and Europe as opposed to China. And this is something that will be beneficial for decades. As I was in Guatemala and had dinner with the president, Arevalo, and I pointed out to him, government aid changes with governments, and governments come and go. Majorities come and go. But these private investments, if they have a framework where private property is respected, protected, and they have sensible and predictable taxes and regulations, those relationships last for decades. And that will help us, I think, long term on reducing, maybe even eliminating this rush to our border for these people getting out of their countries. If they can get a good job, educate their kids, have a middle class life, they're not going to migrate to the United States.
Exactly right. And I think I've heard now Secretary of State Rubio echoing that, a redoubled focus on especially the Western Hemisphere and our allies there. It's I don't know. I'm excited.
There's a reason they're talking about it,
Joey. Well, I'm excited in general for everything happening. Yesterday was a big day. A lot happened all at once, and it sounds like the Congress is going to be moving swiftly. So I appreciate the work you're doing, and I appreciate your time today here on the show.
Well, thanks for having me on. And I've now officially represented Otago, Elmore, and Coosa for 18 days.
Beautiful.
So
And
I'm
that's
going to spend a good bit of time down there.
that's where our best listeners are. So it's a good match. I appreciate it, Congressman.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you, sir. Again, that's Congressman Gary Palmer. Always appreciate his time here on the program. He is always full of detailed information. He can really go deep on a lot of different topics, and always appreciate somebody with that sort of perspective. This part of the program brought to you by James Cole and Cole Plumbing, and they're at Cole Plumbing. They're ready to help you with any and all of your plumbing needs. Say you have a burst pipe. You should be dripping those faucets. Don't let that happen. But say it does happen. Maybe you have a burst pipe inside or even outside your home. Well, Cole Plumbing has the proprietary pipelining technology that allows them with minimal discomfort to you in that home to, actually have the problem fixed. means they're not going to have to tear out a bunch of drywall, dig up a huge hole. No, with precision expertise, they can get the job done. They can also help you with everyday plumbing problems, clogged drains, low water pressure. Maybe you want to upgrade to a tankless water heater system or throw in new accessories in the bathroom. They can help you with all of those things there at Cole Plumbing. So call them up today if you want to make an appointment. 279-8919. That's 279-8919. And just remember, folks, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole. We'll be right back.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Hey there, I'm Kim Williams with Alabama Home Mortgage. Our partnership with Blue Water Broadcasting has reached thousands of listeners in the River region. People listen, people call. Now there's mortgage savings for us all.
Blue Water Broadcasting is the #1 most listened to radio group in the River region. Find out how to put this reach to work for your business. Call us to find out how we can help. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news, a CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
Hey guys, are you looking for a professional and reliable tree service company in the Montgomery and surrounding areas? Well, check out the folks at Tree Masters. It's a name you know and trust. From pruning to full tree removal, they'll even help you remove your shrubs. They service all of Central Alabama, including Lake Martin and Lake Jordan. Call them for a free quote today at 334-676-3638. That's 334-676-3638. Tree Masters.
News and talk without the static. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Welcome back. Looks like Mark Cumby, our offsite producer, behind-the-scenes producer, says they had a major pileup in the Greenville exit 120 area with a fatality. Stay off the roads, guys. I think that's good advice, unless you absolutely have to be somewhere. But, and again, we're going to get an update from Rich Thomas in about 10 minutes here, about 1:05, hopefully, around that time period. I think it's going to get worse as we head into the night hours, especially early morning. Tomorrow morning, I don't want to get out ahead of myself, but I think tomorrow morning might be quite cold. We'll see. I'm waiting to hear from the man himself, Rich Thomas. Rich Thomas weather. Looking forward to talking to him. Now, last night, we just talked to Gary Palmer. Let's go to the Senate side of things. United States Senator Katie Britt was making a last-second plea to her colleagues in the Senate. Well, time to get something done.
The time to return to common sense. Now is the time to return to law and order. We are a proud nation of immigrants. We are also a nation of laws, and the lawlessness ends today. I could not be more proud of those that are choosing today to support the Laken Riley Act, because what we've done is we've decided we're going to stop talking and we're going to start achieving results. We are looking for targeted reforms. They're going to keep Americans safe and secure. It's exactly what the Laken Riley Act does. It honors Laken's life and legacy, a beautiful life and legacy. As her mother, Allison, and her stepfather, John Phillips, have said, she brought warmth to everyone who knew her, that she lit up every room, that she found ways to show kindness and her faith and her love for the Lord. Today we honor Laken, And we ensure that with this common sense approach, Mr. President, targeted, making sure that our communities are safe and secure, that no other family has to go through the heartbreak that Laken's did.
Well, they listened. The Laken Riley Act passed. Bill passed 64 to 35. 12 Democrats voted in favor of the bill. You needed above 60 to break a filibuster for this particular bill. It should be signed before too long there on President Trump's desk. The Democrats had joined in, well, of course, John Fetterman. We're not surprised by that. Georgia Senator John Ossoff, who is not right now not looking good against Brian Kemp, trying to keep a Democratic seat there in the Senate out of Georgia. But you're looking at Senator Shaheen of New Hampshire, Elise Slotkin, Mark Warner, Virginia, Raphael Warnock of Georgia jumping in on this, Mark Kelly of Arizona, Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, Ruben Gallego, and Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada. So some of those swing states, it looks like even the Democrat senators are realizing, yeah, I need to back this. Of course, this legislation that just passed was introduced by Senator Brent here of Alabama. It passed the House recently with a 264 to 159 vote with 48 Democrats joining in. So this should be going to the desk of President Trump before you know it. And just have to say, good job, Senator Brett. Good job, Republicans. And thank you to the few Democrats who supported it. Looks like we actually got something done quickly. We'll see how quickly everything continues to move in the coming days and weeks. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. On Capitol Hill, Representative Elise Stefanik opening her confirmation hearing for U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations by pledging to implement President Donald Trump's America First mandate. A second day of windy and dry conditions is forecast for Southern California. Ferocious winds are expected to continue, raising the risk of new wildfires sparking. Forecasters say gusts could peak at 70 miles per hour along the coast, 100 miles per hour in the mountains and foothills. Residents across parts of the Gulf Coast and South bracing for rare winter storm-like conditions that are expected to drop heavy snow and create treacherous conditions, including freezing rain and sleet. On Wall Street, the Dow ahead 474 points, the Nasdaq adding 144. This is SRN News.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit. 800-885-3333. That's 800-885-3333. 800-885-3333.
Rich Thomas Weather is brought to you by MPM Feed and Seed. Man's best friend deserves nothing but the best. That's what you'll find at MPM Feed and Seed in Prattville. They carry only the highest quality dog food brands. MPM in Prattville, 1313 Highway 31 North. Open 7 to 5:30 on weekdays and Saturdays 8 to 2. Call Clint Smith at 334-361-8818.
Actually, folks, we have the man himself live. Let's go to Rich Thomas. How you doing, Rich?
Hey, hi. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good. Everybody, of course, is going crazy about the snow. But I'll tell you what, whatever you're seeing outside your window, if you're in central Alabama, ain't nothing like what's happening across the southern counties. In fact, you don't have to go far south of Montgomery to get into some trouble. I mean, some really accumulating snow. For instance, we just saw a picture of I-65 in Greenville, the Greenville exit. It's covered. In fact, I-65 is now closed in Butler County because of a crash. And also snow is accumulating on the roadways in Pike County. Snow is accumulating on some of the roadways in Lee County. But I'll tell you that the counties, most counties in South Alabama are now described as impassable, and the roads are generally considered closed. That would be Butler. That would be, oh my gosh, Covington is starting to get, Covington County, right there on the Florida border, is getting a tremendous amount of snow. So is Mobile. The Mobile, both airports are closed. Regional airport, the international airport is closed. I heard you talking about the Monsignor and the pictures he was sending you about the accumulating snowfall there. 2 inches in right now in Fairhope. You ought to see the pictures I'm seeing from New Orleans. I just can't believe this. This snowstorm will be talked about for decades. The I-10 snow, or some people are calling it Blizzard Beach, because there is heavy snow on the beaches all the way from South Louisiana through South Mississippi into Alabama, Northwest Florida. So, yeah, here in central Alabama, we are just kind of on the northern extent of the snow area, and a lot of people are going to be very disappointed here that they won't be able to build a snowman. But I think it'll be just enough, though, to cause some travel issues a little bit later on, Joey. It just doesn't take much at all to cause problem with we're at 29 degrees, so we are below freezing. Most of the roads right now are wet, Joey, but I think any wetness on the roads will refreeze certainly tonight, because we're going to 15 degrees for the overnight low temperature. So the snow may start to fade out by late afternoon, early evening. I think it's gone early, but here in central Alabama. But I think that the travel problems persist through tomorrow morning. For heaven's sakes, a lot of people have shut down anyway, shut down work. They've closed their businesses. A lot of schools are closed tomorrow morning as well. But you look at some of the pictures on newscast later on from Louisiana and all across the South. It is just unbelievable. The first blizzard warning ever on the Gulf Coast is in effect now in part of Louisiana. Never has there been a blizzard warning that far south. So this will be remembered as one of the big landmark southern deep south snowstorms of all time, probably.
Yeah, I mean, what a thing to behold. Yeah, especially seeing the photos out of Mobile from my uncle. I'm like, I've never seen that area covered. A generational sort of thing. And,
oh, my gosh, no doubt about it. And we knew it was coming, and we didn't think there'd be much here in central Alabama. We are under a winter storm warning, and maybe we could get surprised. Maybe we could pull a half an inch out of this, or certainly probably not more than an inch here locally. But like I said, you don't have to go far south of Montgomery to get into snow. And by the way, don't try to do that, because travel is becoming impossible in some areas. I even saw a picture from Fitzpatrick here in, I beg your pardon, from Matthews here in Montgomery County, and it didn't look good. Didn't look good there either.
Well, I really appreciate all the information. And folks, you can always go to the Rich Thomas Weather app. Be sure to download it in the App Store. It's the Rich Thomas Weather app. You'll see Rich's smiling face there as sort of your icon for the app. I use it every day, and you can turn on notifications, especially for big weather warnings and what we're dealing with right now. And hey, Rich,
all you have to do is search Rich Thomas Weather in the App Store. Plus, I've been going live on Facebook on Rich Thomas Weather every couple of hours, and then we're doing, of course, updates for you guys every hour. We're doing fresh updates here, and we'll be on with Greg this afternoon every single hour as well. So there you go, Joey. You're up to date.
Well, I appreciate all the info, and you be safe getting in tomorrow morning.
All right, man. See you later.
Thanks, Rich. Again, that's Rich Thomas. Always appreciate his insights, and he puts in a lot of hard work, folks. He really does. This part of the program brought to you by Ashley and the great team there at Pest Pro Services. I believe at Pest Pro, they have something like 25 years of combined experience there on the staff. And the way they treat their customers is what makes the difference. They're very easy to work with there at Pest Pro, and the value they provide is just fantastic. So, I mean, things like fungus control, even if you're thinking about it. But if you go to Pest Pro Services, that's ppsriverregion.com. If you go to Pest Pro online at ppsriverregion.com, you can see all the pests they treat, from beetles to ants to roaches. And but think about like rodents, for instance. They can deal with those rodents that might be trying to sneak in to find a warm place. They can deal with it all. And I know they're always adding new areas of expertise to what they can provide to the river region. And just look at how much Pest Pro Services has grown leaps and bounds since, say, 2020. And there you'll see the proof of how good they are. More and more folks are starting to realize this is the company you need to go to for any and all of your pest control needs. That number is 265-9990. Again, that number for Pest Pro Services, 265-9990. Or you can always go to ppsriverregion.com and be sure when you get in touch with Pest Pro to say, hey, Ashley, I heard about y'all on that show, that radio show with Joey. Joey Clark, that fella. We'll be right back.
CB&S Bank has digital banking solutions to help you keep up. Check balances, pay bills, and much more. Learn more at cbsbank.com. Charges and fees may apply from your cellular service provider. Contact your service provider for information. Member FDIC.
From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, these are today's top stories. Governor Kay Ivey has issued a state of emergency for 39 counties in central and south Alabama due to severe winter weather. Governor Ivey made the announcement Monday afternoon. The state of emergency includes Autauga, Elmore, and Montgomery counties and will remain in effect for the duration of the severe weather situation. Montgomery Mayor Stephen Reed attended the U.S. Conference of Mayors meeting over the weekend in Washington, D.C. Reed remarked that some of his city's critical issues include public safety and affordable housing. Mayor Reed went on to say addressing climate change and creating a more sustainable city were also top priorities. A second suspect is under arrest in connection to a November murder in Montgomery. 21-year-old Jaquan Houston has been charged in the shooting death of 33-year-old Marcelino Hernandez in the 4800 block of Parktown Way on November 22nd. 19-year-old Jakiri McCorvey is also charged with murder in the case. From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, I'm Sky Mosley.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
Are you happy with your IT support company? Do they resolve your company's computer issues quickly, or do they leave you down and frustrated? You need your computers working and problems resolved quickly and permanently. GTI is different. GTI has a high standard of affordably supporting and protecting businesses like yours since 1999. Call them now at 819-4650, 819-4650, or visit gtinow.com.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
This is the Trump country. We live in the southeast. We drink sweet tea. We don't drink socialist Kool-Aid.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back here to News and Views in the afternoon. And, well, there's so much to get to. And I now have some company here in the studio I'm very grateful for. Dr. Stuart Tankersley is here in the studio with me. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, and what an exciting time.
Yeah, this is, first your just general reaction to the hullabaloo of yesterday. I mean, that was it was moving fast.
It was, and I think that we're going to be, with those pardons of Fauci and Milley and all these in the J6 committee, there is a new day, and I am very optimistic that there is an opportunity for truth to be revealed like we haven't seen in quite a while.
Oh, and Senator Rand Paul was very upset indeed when it came to the Fauci pardoned. And correct me if I'm wrong, it goes all the way back to 2014, long before Fauci was a household name. And that had to do with, I think the Obama administration at that time banned gain-of-function research in 2014.
That's right. And it should be outlawed across the world, but we have all these hundreds of places around the world we're doing this. I hope it's not happening at all in Alabama, but if there is, if there's the potential, we need to make sure we write a law to prevent it for sure.
Now, if I just going to play a normie, like I don't ever look at the news, it's not good for you. I just wanted to keep my head down during COVID, and, you know, I haven't thought about that much. What's so bad about Tony Fauci?
What a fraud. The science. He is the science. He has been the science, and the science has been revealed to be full of lies and deceptions, all about money and destruction.
So, yeah, there were, like, he was getting royalties for certain products and services that were being pushed?
I think his salary was $473,000 or something astronomical thing. And don't forget his wife, his illustrious wife, who is I kid you not, she is the director of ethics at the National Institute of Health's clinical side. And so these two people who get to define truth as they believe it have been exposed, and I hope there is a true investigation into him. I was told yesterday that the states might be able to go after him now, that they might be able to go after the fraud that Fauci put us all in. And I hope that's true. If it's not, I hope they don't do it. And the reason is simple, that as I understand it, if he has been absolved of any crimes, then he can't plead the fifth if he goes before any of the investigative committees in Congress. And so I hope that, and then of course he'll lie, he'll instinctively lie, and then they can prosecute him for perjury.
Yeah, and Judge Napolitano was backing that up, that because he'll lose his Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. And I know Rand Paul's going to be, in particular, is going to be leaning on that. I mean, what sort of answers would you like to see? Say if Senator Paul with that committee is really going after what happened during the COVID era and that whole regime, what sort of questions do you want answers to?
Well, there are tons of them. I think that the greatest debate in our lifetimes, if it were allowed to be held, would be put Tony Fauci on one side and Peter McCullough on the other, or really most any of our doctors, but mainly those two, and let him go at it. And I think he would be eviscerated, and the science, as he calls himself, he represents the science. I think that would be exposed for all to see as one fraud built on another. And he has been in cahoots with these people. And, of course, he iced out former CDC Director Redfield when these types of things came up, because Redfield has been against this for decades, for over a decade, fighting him against this because it's insane. It's the hubris to think that we can control nature at that level. It's mind-boggling to think the level of that somebody could be that arrogant, and the damage he has wrought has been historic. Whether it was the AIDS crisis, what he did with investigating other vaccines on black people in Africa, in third world Africa, killing many of them. Of course, Bobby Kennedy's book has the real Anthony Fauci exposed a lot of this, but this was known, and the people in charge of the media have been his guardian protectors. And I think one of the greatest things that Trump has done is expose the guardian media for what it is.
Well, and the announcement, I believe he made during his inaugural address, that we are going to reinstate any military service member who was fired or let go because of them refusing to take the vaccine, because of the vaccine mandates, and we're going to give them back pay.
Right.
That's a huge promise and a huge deal if they follow through.
Well deserved. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that they'll be able to say didn't quit because of it, but they pressured tens of thousands of service members, and supposedly last I remember 9,000 were actual number that came down of all services, including the reserves and guard. Only 9,000, according to their metrics, were forced out, but it was tens of thousands. And then the key point that he made yesterday in his inauguration, or at the commander's ball, when he spoke before the military at his first of the three balls he spoke to, he was talking about the huge increase in recruitment throughout all branches of the services, and that is a major deal. I was blessed to have enlisted in '91, and I would love for young people to go consider doing it, because there are so many opportunities you won't get in the civilian world to test yourself. I was a frontline guy, and I think that's just the way I'm built. But I think most people would benefit from doing something like that, put themselves in conditions that are not comfortable necessarily, and showing, letting them prove to themselves, and the confidence that comes from that, I think would be is wonderful. Encouraging somebody to go into the DOD the last 4 years, I don't know if I ever encouraged anybody to do that.
Right.
Because
You
you
weren't
never
alone.
knew the insanity that these people were going to be trapped in. I've heard of countless stories of young men and women going into the academies in the last 10 years and having horrible experiences, leaving early because of the wokeness that was so baked into everything that they were doing, to the point, I mean, we now, I think this kind of epitomizes it in a way. Multiple people have told me out at Maxwell that the 3-star general out there was sobbing in her office.
What? Sobbing?
This was not any time recently. I can't imagine. I mean, I can imagine a commander of every level being shaken by the loss of a soldier under them.
Yeah.
But this was just clearly a woman who was put in a position she was not equipped to deal with. And so a general sobbing, it's just such an anathema to my way of understanding how military leadership should operate. But that's kind of epitomizes the tragic injuries that have been done to our country and to the young people that served, sign up to serve. And there's got to be what Secretary Hegseth said last week in his hearings. We are going to return to the warrior ethos, and it is long past due.
No, and I think that was, I think DEI and a lot of these other things were symptoms of, number one, us being kind of top dogs in the world, not having actual near-peer challengers. So, and then you get into those insurgency operations. And so I think Hegseth hit the nail on the head when he said we have to get back to lethality.
Right.
Like, you actually let people fight, because it could be like you don't want to go into the service, young man, because of the DEI stuff, or who knows what politics you have to play. But even worse are the guys that served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and they saw the rules of engagement that were put on them, and they're like, what are we even doing here? And then you see the withdrawal, and you're like, why did we even do it?
Right.
So it left a bad taste. So I think getting back to the warrior ethos is exactly the way you inspire people to get back into it.
Yeah, that's what leadership should do, seek to inspire those under them to do the right thing. And I'll give you this. It was exactly 20 years ago next week that I was in Iraq, in the middle of nowhere, Iraq, and it was the first election they had. I think it was January the 30th of 2005. And we were not allowed to be positioned within 2 blocks of a polling station. And one of my lieutenants, it was a beautiful day. It was like one of those cold days last week. It was in northern Iraq. And it was a boring day, nothing much going on. He's hanging outside of his up-armored Humvee. He's the lieutenant of that platoon. And about 20 yards away are 2 little girls kicking a soccer ball. And nothing's going on. All of a sudden, a sniper from the minaret on the mosque shoots both of the little girls in the head. And he had clear line of sight to my lieutenant. That has always, to me, epitomized the real evil in this world that is so pervasive and ready to take action against us at every point. Of course, I think the vaccines end up being parallel along that, but the COVID vaccines. But the reality is that we're going to, as a country, if we stand for right, we will have the moral authority to take on such insane Mohammedan that did that to these people. But if we're going to play the games that the left has wanted us to play, what moral authority do we have?
Here, here. Here, here. And now, again, folks, we're talking to Dr. Stuart Tankersley. If you want to get in on the conversation, 334-272-9228. Now, there was a big move by Trump, and we were talking about that press conference, how casual he seemed throughout the whole thing, and just comfortable in his own skin. The press seemed to be behaving themselves, unlike especially 2017 when he first got in there. But there was a big moment where you're trying to have to pay attention to, like, okay, what's the one he's signing now? You declared the cartels like terrorist groups, foreign terrorist groups. What, are you going to put tier 1 operators on them now, hunting them down? Okay, that's a little nuts. Wait. You just declared a national emergency with energy and with the border. So you had to be paying attention in detail. And then here's one. Here's a moment that I know is going to make you happy, Doc.
WHO.
The WHO. Here's a taste of that, folks. Trump kind of laying out, why he's doing it.
It was a rigged deal. And when you do that, they look very bad. But I was a little surprised he did it. Liz Cheney, I mean, she's a lunatic. And she lost by the greatest margin in the history of a politician.
Yeah, before he gets to
running for
WHO,
Congress.
he's got to, asked about the Biden pardons on the way out the door.
Like 40 points. The reason it was the greatest is because anybody losing that badly is going to drop out. And she lost by almost 40 points. That's the biggest number anybody's ever lost by. But why would Biden do that? He pardoned her and pardoned everybody. The reason is that they destroyed documents. And if you're even in a civil case, which this wouldn't be, I mean, people go to jail for a long time for doing that. What's this one?
That's Unleashing American Energy, sir. It relates to easing permitting processes and other regulatory systems to ensure that we can produce energy efficiently to drive the American economy forward.
President Trump, looking around the office, we noticed some changes from the way that Biden had it set up. Can you confirm that you have added back the Diet Coke plan?
I think this, first of all, I just got here. So my people came in. They have extraordinary decorator sense, right? Let me just see some of the pictures. That's a good one. I could live with him. I could live with George Washington, I can tell you.
Classic
I could live with Thomas Jefferson. I can live with most of them. They took a very safe route. They don't have any bad ones up there.
Withdrawing from
What is this one?
Withdrawing from the World Health Organization, sir.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Ooh, yeah.
So we paid $500 million to World Health when I was here, and I terminated it. China, with 1.4 billion people, we have 350 to pay. We have, nobody knows what we have because so many people came in illegally, but let's say we have 325. They had 1.4 billion. They were paying 39 million. We were paying 500 million. It seemed a little unfair to me. So that wasn't the reason, but I dropped out. They offered me to come back for 39 million. In theory, it should be less than that, but and when Biden came back, they came back for 500 million. He knew that you could have come back for 39 million. They wanted us back so badly, so we'll see what happens.
And it all is such a blur when I think back to the beginning of COVID. Like, didn't the WHO even, in the head of that WHO, they were saying, like, initially COVID wasn't even airborne. Like, they were essentially, like, really stumping for the Chinese. It looked like they were covering for the Chinese.
That was their whole, their goal initially, because they knew the Chinese had done this to themselves in the world. And you need look no further than what the Chinese did in their own country, where they blocked air traffic from in their own country, but not to the external world, to Wuhan. And that's exactly right, because the guy in charge of the WHO, a veterinarian who was in charge, who had revealed himself to be a mastermind of terrorism in his own country in Africa, and overseeing the murder of millions of unlike-minded believers in their country, whatever country he was from, I forget. But they have been wetted at the hip, and this I think One Belt Road Initiative.
One Belt, one Road, yeah.
Yeah, that has kind of obligated to the WHO and these other countries to voting and following along with the Chinese. And what the WHO is wanting to do and has tried to do and very close to passing last May was the authority to overtake every authority in the world, even in going down to the local level, to not mandate but force, with real force, legitimacy as they believe, to take over anything they wanted to under the guise of science. And they could just say zip code 36106, that zip code is a threat for whatever contagion, and so nobody can leave their homes. And that, I mean, they were seeking to give themselves that authority. Wow. And the European Union went along with it, but there were some people around the world that thankfully blocked it, but they continued throughout the summer, and they're trying to manipulate so that they will have that authority. WHO needs to be, we need to get as far away from that place as we can. They have been wrong time and time again. But all these NGOs that are supported through them and by them, many of them, the biggest funder of the WHO is Gates Foundation.
Oh.
Yeah.
How convenient.
So, yeah, he understood 25 years ago how to play the game of poisoning the world with these, with shots and other things.
Now, before we hit this break, it is great to see some victories in the sense of Trump pulling out of the WHO. There's, I'm sure, going to be fireworks with RFK Jr., but it's things like red dye number 2 already being outlawed by the FDA even before Trump's sworn in. But then you're also saying, I think the Fauci pardon in a way is going to be, as we discussed, going to be a blessing in disguise. He doesn't have that Fifth Amendment right to remain silent now. Rand Paul certainly is probably going to pull him in front of a committee, if not others. So there's a lot of victories, it seems, and hopefully we get justice in a great sense. But is it a little bittersweet as we celebrate these national victories to look back at, say, public health authorities in Alabama and go, well, we just had this great victory nationally with Trump. Where's our Trump in Alabama to help clean house?
Yeah, I don't see it anywhere near the levers of power that are here in our country, in our state right now. But this is an opportunity as Make America Healthy Again, as Bobby Kennedy has so famously exclaimed. And I hope it is true, but it's got to start, the single biggest employer, for example, in the state is UAB. They need to have a real hard look at who they are and what they want to do and how they want to help the citizens of our state. The whole medical industrial complex has revealed itself to be corrupt. And I would hope, like Senator Lister Hill did 70 years ago when he made UAB the beacon of science in our state that it has been, I would hope that somebody would step into the void and say, wait a minute, we got to get serious about what we're after here. And health is our goal, not making you a bunch of money so you can do all these social projects and block any abortion bills, like UAB was the opponent of that, the foremost opponent of that in our state for decades. But there's got to be a moral reconfiguration foundationally going back to the people in leadership at UAB, and UAB can once again become a world leader if it just seeks to repent, as we like to say, as we need to say, and then have a corrective action that reorients toward truth and health, because we clearly have not been oriented toward that.
We got to hit a break here, folks. But first, this part of the program brought to you by Montgomery Men's Health. And they're at Montgomery Men's Health. They're ready to help you fellas out with, especially if you suspect your symptoms, this basket of symptoms are pointing towards low testosterone. So what is that basket of symptoms? Like, well, no motivation, no energy, no drive, including a decrease, if non-existent sex drive, your libido's nothing. You're always tired, like physically and mentally, loss of muscle mass, unwanted weight gain. And it's not like you're eating more. It's not like you're working out less. And yet that's still happening. And this, lower testosterone production happens, goes down naturally as you get older, as you get into your 50s and 60s, even your 40s. But if you're experiencing this in your 20s and 30s, you got to get by there. At least get checked out. The providers there at Montgomery Men's Health will conduct a testosterone-focused lab workup plus a consultation for only $99. Just a quick blood draw and conversation about how you're feeling. And if you do, in fact, have low testosterone, they have treatments there that can truly change men's lives. Men can experience higher energy after treatment, better gains in the gym, brother, better mental clarity, improved sleep patterns, a faster metabolism, and usually even notice an increased libido. And there's nothing wrong with that. So y'all call them up today. You can actually book the same day that you call. That number, 440-3663. That's 440-3663. Or go to MontgomeryMen'sHealth.com to book your appointment today.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson with the Goodson Group with your Real Estate Minute. My last message was the report for 2024 real estate market in the River region. According to industry experts, they predict for 2025, we will have more inventory to choose from for our buyers, more buyers for sellers to show their houses to. Here are 5 tips for buyers or sellers in 2025. Number 1, sellers need to price their home at fair market value with the help of your realtor. Number 2, buyers need to be pre-qualified by a local lender prior to shopping for a house to save them time. Number 3, use a certified residential specialist or CRS to purchase or sell your home. Less than 2% of realtors nationwide have this designation. You need an expert now. 4, use someone with 48 years of real estate experience to help you with your largest investment. Number 5, quit waiting. Now's the time to buy or sell. Call Bo Goodson at 221-2883, the Goodson Group, or 551-0225.
Honey?
Yeah?
Do you think it's safe using all these extension cords?
Oh, yeah, it's fine.
Actually, too many extension cords can be dangerous. Call Crosby Electric to add new outlets.
Sure is dark in our yard.
Good. We'll sleep better.
Maybe you will.
Crosby Electric does landscaping lighting for beauty and safety, as well as security lighting for peace of mind.
Oh, darn. The vacuum cleaner just tripped a breaker.
Honey, never vacuum while I'm making popcorn.
Tripping breakers can indicate a potential fire hazard. You really should have it checked out by Crosby Electric, serving the River region for almost 50 years.
Sweetheart, are you ever afraid that lightning could damage our electrical system?
Afraid? Come on. No. Maybe we should call Crosby. You know, just give him a call.
Full house surge protection can protect you and your possessions. For an assessment and for all your electrical needs, call Crosby Electric, 272-2085, or visit us at crosbyelectric.com.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. With PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 specials. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
The Rich Thomas Weather Network, brought to you by Montgomery Paint and Body. From little fender benders to total body repair, MPB will fix it good as new, maybe better. For 4 decades, the Turner family has been getting you back on the road. Call 279-7325.
Rich Thomas Weather.
Snow continues to fall in central and south Alabama, but it's really in south Alabama where the major accumulating snow is, especially from Pike County and Butler County on southward. Snow covering the interstate in Greenville. We're at 29 right now in Montgomery. I don't think we get much warmer than that. The roads will refreeze tonight with the overnight low temperature down to about 15. Snow continues for much of the afternoon and tapers off this evening. Look for improvement in the whole general situation by tomorrow afternoon with temperatures in the upper 30s and sunshine. Our weather app will keep you on top of the action as this winter storm continues. Go to the App Store, search Rich Thomas Weather. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
The River Region's first and only news talk station on FM. Live, local talk. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Welcome back, folks. I'm your host, Joey Clark. Dr. Stuart Tankersley here in the studio with me. We were off air just talking about, like, what was exciting yesterday. I guess Rubio sworn in, and, I often focus on the human interest moments sometimes because it's just, at times I go back to, like, politics Shakespearean. You can have all the systems, you can have all the rules, it all comes down to human nature and that one individual and what they're going through and how they decide to do things. And that's revealed in all sorts of little moments. So the moment where Rubio sworn in is, and J.D. Vance swears him in as Vice President Vance. Vance is like, well, I've never sworn somebody in before, so I'm glad I get to do this with Marco, who I like. And, like, as they're doing the oath, like, repeat after me, I, Marco Rubio, they're sitting there trying not to laugh. Like, and I mean, because it's more like two guys who are buddies who they understand it's a serious oath, but it's also like you can see two guys who are buddies like, don't screw this up, man. No, you don't screw it up, man. And it was it's one of those little human moments that sneaks out that I appreciated. So Rubio sworn in is officially Secretary of State. But when I look at everything that happened yesterday, I mean, there's the silly stuff like Trump dancing with the sword in his hand and all that, or Mark Zuckerberg being caught red-handed peeking at the cleavage of Jeff Bezos' fiance. But she knew what she was doing.
Oh, yeah.
I was watching on C-SPAN, and I noticed her because I'm a guy, and I'm like, whoa, lady, a camisole? Really? So there's the silly crap that happened yesterday. But I think it's more how quickly Trump is moving with these executive orders. And then on top of that, it looks like, talking to Congressman Palmer, I got a clip of John Thune, the new Senate Majority Leader. Sounds like a lot of the Republicans are ready to go in this first year, at least, just to move very, very quickly on a lot of agenda items. So whether it's the border, whether it's pulling out of the Paris Climate Accords, getting rid of DEI across the government. I mean, a lot of stuff was signed yesterday. It's almost difficult to list everything off the top of my head.
Right. I thought that it was overall, what a huge sigh of relief and true joy, not that Democratic abortionist campaign they had, but the true joy that, man, it's like we have an opportunity and we may not deserve it. Hopefully we will prove worthy in the coming months. This year is very, very important, as your listeners know. This is very, very important year that things really change, that things are put into effect. That I listened to an interview last week with a guy named Ryan R-U-A-N or something like that Tucker Carlson had with him, and I think I like
Ned Ryan. Yeah.
I think that he kind of nailed it when he said we've got to go in right off the start, challenging everything. Eventually, it's going to get to one question. Does the leader of the executive branch have the authority to hire and fire people in the executive branch? and it'll take 1.5 years, 2 years to work its way up through the Supreme Court, and then the U.S. Supreme Court will hopefully come down the right side on it.
Yeah,
and if that happens, we have a new day. Not just of course, energy freedom that we're going to have with our own resources the Lord's blessed us with in enormous ways, but it's just an opportunity for people to step back. I have black and white and Asian and Latino patients every day, and there is no objection to anyone that I've run across to the reality that we've been stuck in, where the people in charge, they're the only ones that benefit by pitting us against each other.
Oh yeah,
and it's so disgusting. It's just not who we have been historically. That we've been played like a fiddle by these people for the last 2 generations, and it's time for people to set aside the pettiness and to understand we've got serious problems. Look at Alabama's education system. What a horrific disaster that AEA has been in charge of for generations now. And who's going to stand up and say, we care for our children? I mean, is there a bigger issue in our state, really, than that, the health and the welfare of our children? And yet the AEA has had a death grip on them. We'll see if the people take to the... By the way, a lot of people don't know it about the bill that passed last year that your child can... you can get, I think, $65,000 or $7,000.
The Choose Act,
yeah. The Choose Act. A lot of people are unaware of that. I wish it weren't 13,000 that signed up in the first couple of weeks. I wish it were 130,000. But point is, that is a wonderful step. We need to get the word out. Your child does not deserve the abuse they've tolerated from the AEA.
Well, and I'll say, I was about to bring up, I think the 13,000 that quickly is a great impetus to raise the caps.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're hitting the caps pretty quick already.
Yeah, right.
In terms of money allocated to the Choose Act. So I think showing how popular it is just within a few weeks, being able to take advantage of it, it could be the right direction here.
Yeah, but we've got to get the word out because the AEA has had a stranglehold on these children and on us as a result, and generations to come. They've got to be held to account. And, of course, if Trump follows through on abolishing the education department, which didn't come into existence, I don't think, until the 70s under Carter. But they clearly don't want the best for the future of our country. And the people that founded the public education system understood they didn't want thinkers, they wanted workers.
Yes.
It's a moral rot that you inflict on these young people.
Well, and it really goes back to like turn of the 20th century progressives. Everything that was European or foreign was cool. So we take a trip to Prussia and we're like, man, look, this is the future right here, the Prussian model of education. Like to build good, obedient workers, maybe in our context. In the Prussian context, is good, obedient soldiers. And to root out originality, to ingrain conformity and scheduling and all this stuff. And with our technology we have these days, you can imagine all sorts of ways where children can be educated, especially accounting for the differences in aptitude and interest and all sorts of other things. If a kid needs extra help, okay, we give them extra help. If a kid's far ahead of the rest of the class, let them keep going far ahead. This idea that you have to be in the same age cohort, all looking at the thing at the same pace is, I think, just absurd on its face. And there are private schools that still do this, and we've got to break out of that model.
Right. It clearly shows you that the people in charge here in Montgomery or here in the state, they have failed. Yet, Representative Mike Holmes, love the guy, he told me a couple of years ago that the education budget in Alabama, I think from 2015 through 22, increased 40%. Did we get a 40% increase in? I don't think we did.
No.
So I found your article today interesting, where you very worthwhile read for anybody listening, because Senator Orr, who seems like a nice guy to me, he's in charge of education budget in the Senate. What is his Doge going to do against to hold these people accountable?
Right.
And not holding my breath. I hope it's true, but there's got to be leadership that forces the hand on these absurdities to reveal them and to get away with it, get them out of the way.
Well, and kind of you anticipate where I want to go. I think I'll read that thing you just recommended. And also, one thing we didn't touch on that Trump did yesterday is the DOGE executive order. Of course, Trump promised during the campaign to reform and streamline government bureaucracy that will work for the American people, and that includes freezing bureaucrat hiring except in essential areas. That's part of the executive order. Trump also announced the rescission of a slate of executive orders with the goal to improve government workers' accountability. Another executive order requires all federal workers to return to in-person work, noting that only 6% of employees currently work in person. That's an amazing figure. Another executive order formalizes the new Department of Government Efficiency. It repurposes the U.S. Digital Service to serve as a White House-based U.S. DOGE service. Additionally, it creates a time-limited service organization to administer DOGE. It mandates DOGE teams of at least 4 people across all federal agencies. Software modernization is a key focus of the DOGE executive order, in line with the tech-forward outlook of DOGE's leader to date, Elon Musk. So it's interesting that really are requiring at every agency to have a DOGE team that reports to the DOGE committee and Elon. And I think the software is just the first part of it. I'd imagine, because I can think about our own place of work, any place of work that's been around for a while, you've got to have a good reason to change your software and how you're running things. And I can only imagine the federal bureaucracy, like how antiquated and costly a lot of these data systems are. And maybe by design, maybe that's a good way to hide information in plain sight is in some esoteric data system. But in a second, when I read the op-ed, you'll see folks that, and we covered this, I guess, Byron Sheehy and I on Thursday reacted in real time. Senator Arthur Moore came out with an op-ed that said that we already have DOGE, and it's called ACES here in Alabama. And you look at it and you go, wait, over 6 years, how much of y'all actually save the taxpayer money? Okay, cool. If you found problems with, say, education in the prisons and you corrected for that and maybe improve the recidivism rate a little bit, maybe lower costs a little bit, cool. But how much money was that at the end of the day when you get into the K through 12 side? So we'll get into it. I just found it not like Arthur Moore and ACES is a bad thing, just more as don't try to present it as something like DOGE. It's just not.
Yeah, and here's a classic example. It just occurred to me when you were reading about the evaluation of the recidivism rate of educating the prisoners.
Mm-hmm.
I think a more moral, better foundation would be, did they come back to prison as the metric, or did they become productive citizens?
I agree.
All right. In other words, what's the fundamental purpose of what our goals are? And as you know, one of the primary goals of a bureaucracy is to first and foremost protect the bureaucracy, and they'll hide under this or that. But the fact is that we've lost our way. I mean,
yes, we have.
Yeah.
Well, I'll hit a quick break here. We'll come back right after this.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
With winter storm weather on the way, our friends at Alabama Power are prepped and ready for the added challenges that ice, falling trees, and extreme temperatures can bring. And you can also take steps to prepare. For winter storm safety tips and how to manage cost and energy usage while staying warm, visit alabamapower.com/winter weather or alabamapower.com/winter. Alabama Power's top priority is to keep the lights on and the heat running no matter what Mother Nature sends our way. Everybody stay safe and warm out there.
Now you can add the power of digital advertising to the #1 reach of radio. Let Blue Water's 20 years of local advertising and marketing success show you how. Grow your business with a complete suite of digital solutions, combined with the reach of the most listened to radio group in the River region. Call us or go to BlueWaterBroadcasting.com to find out how we can increase your return on investment. Blue Water Broadcasting, local folks helping local business.
For more information, send an email to digital@BlueWaterBroadcasting.com.
For many children, stability is something they have never experienced. At the Alabama Sheriff's Youth Ranches, we offer hope, healing, and a family to children in need. But behind every success story, our house parents are the heart of our ranches. We're looking for compassionate couples to join our mission. We provide housing, medical benefits, a 401k, paid vacation, and the chance to make a lasting difference. The Alabama Sheriff's Youth Ranches. Be the love, be the guidance, be the family they need. Visit alsyr.org.
Live, local talk. The River Region's most trusted voice for news and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Just got word, and I just looked outside. It's actually snowing outside of our radio studio now, actually sticking to the ground. So snow is upon us, getting a little bit of that. Y'all stay tuned for live Rich Thomas updates as the day continues. I think he's going to be on with Greg Budell every hour from 3 to 6. So y'all stay tuned to these airwaves. Rich will have live updates, but it's kind of beautiful to see the snow falling outside our window here. Hey, this part of the program, in fact, the entire hour, brought to you by Alabama Home Mortgage. And there at Alabama Home Mortgage, Kim Williams and Madeline Cannon are ready to help you, whether you're looking to purchase a home here in the brand new year or if you're looking to refinance that home. And especially if you're a veteran, they take the work they do for veterans very seriously. They have veterans in their blood, and they know for a fact there are a lot of veterans out there that aren't aware of the benefits these veterans earn through their service, especially when it comes to the mortgage side of things. And in fact, there are a lot of myths out there like, well, I used it, so I can't use it again. Like, talk to the pros there at Alabama Home Mortgage before you start believing stuff like that. Again, that's whether you're looking to purchase a home or refinance your home with a special VA program. Alabama Home Mortgage can help you. And even if you're not a veteran, they're looking to help you out with getting you the best possible deal when you're purchasing a home. It all starts with pre-approval. Just a quick conversation, a few questions there with Kim and Madeline to get that rolling. Or if you're looking to refinance, maybe you're looking to get debt off your back, and especially credit card debt, or you're just looking to reinvest in your property, they can help you there. So that number, 567-4223, that's 567-4223. Or you can always visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies. Let Kim and Madeline prove that to you today. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender. We got a phone call rolling in. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, guys. I just now jumped into the show not too long ago, and first of all, I want to say congratulations to the Buckeyes.
Oh, yeah. Good for them.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Hey,
it was a boring game. They dominated Notre Dame, man.
Well, yeah. But I was just going to say that gentleman you had on, I don't know if he's left the show yet.
No, he's still here, Dr. Stuart Tankersley.
Hey, good afternoon.
Doctor, my name's Robert. Thanks for, I just want to come alongside of what you were already saying, so way much better than I can say it. But I agree with the education system. When you break it down to the states, it only helps more of the common man, because if you're rich, you can go to whatever school you want because you're rich.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if that made any sense, but
Sure.
I always want the best for all our kids, not just one child, you know. But thank you for coming on, and thank you to your show, Joey, for putting this in, putting smart people like this doctor here out there on the air.
Happy to do it, Robert. Appreciate the call, man.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
We only got like 2 minutes left here, then I'll get into my op-ed on the other side of the top of the hour break. I was just looking because with what's going on in Washington, there's bound to be breaking news after breaking news. Wow. Global editor for Politico says, quote, "Time to admit it, Trump is a historically great president."
What?
Politico?
Oh, my God.
And it must be somebody who's kind of a graybeard in that world, because he's just telling the truth. Like, dadgummit, I'm tired of y'all lying about this guy.
Yeah, I'm suspicious like I am with Zuckerberg,
Oh,
what's the reason? I hope that, well, of course, I hope this guy's truly had a transformed heart and seeing the light. And certainly we're not here saying that Trump is our savior, but the difference between what the new Republican Party under Trump represents compared to the old Republican Party and what the Democrats have represented for far too long. Maybe Politico can make some inroads to people that would otherwise not hear the truth and appreciate it. That's huge news. Wow.
And then apparently Putin and the Russians have now put out an official response to Trump being sworn in, saying, quote, "We see claims from the newly elected U.S. president and his team about a desire to restore direct contacts with Russia, which were severed not through our fault, but by the outgoing administration. We also hear his remarks about the need to do everything possible to prevent a third world war. Of course, we welcome this attitude and congratulate the elected president of the United States on assuming office." So fairly generic there and somewhat warm.
I hope that Blinken is brought under investigation because what he has represented in foreign policy is anathema to what America has stood for.
Yeah, it's been a mess after mess after mess. How about this? Let's hit the break. We'll come back. Final hour of the program here on this very snowy day. It's sticking outside if you haven't peeked out there. It's snowing.
Good.
Like a good bit right now, right outside our door. Y'all stay tuned. Final hour coming up.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Chinese President Xi Jinping spoke with President Trump on Friday and expressed hope for positive ties with the U.S. Russian President Putin congratulated Trump on taking office in televised remarks. Israel's top general resigning, citing the security and intelligence failures related to Hamas's surprise attack that triggered the war in Gaza. While a fragile new ceasefire in Gaza holds, Israel has launched a large operation in the occupied West Bank against Palestinian terrorists. A rare winter storm charging through Texas and the northern Gulf Coast has left New Orleans and Houston frozen, closing highways and grounding nearly all flights. The Dow up 466 points, the Nasdaq adding 134. This is SRN News.
You all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-583-0141. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-583-0141. That's 800-583-0141.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Wiley Sanders Truck Lines, where over-the-road dump truck drivers are needed right now. Home twice a week and every weekend. Must leave early on Sunday with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Call them now at 855-777-9785.
Well, hi, everybody. Snow continues across central and south Alabama and will for the next few hours. Very little accumulation is expected here in the river region, but you don't have to go far south to get into some real travel nightmares. Significant snowfall accumulation now across south Alabama. Locally, I think the snow will fade out by early evening, and then the roads could freeze again overnight. It would probably will. Overnight low temperature 15, so we could see some icy and maybe dangerous spots tomorrow morning. Big improvement tomorrow afternoon with a high temperature up to about 38 with plenty of sunshine, and back to the teens again on Wednesday night. Our weather app will keep you on top of the action. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
1819 News.
Governor Kay Ivey has declared a state of emergency for 39 Alabama counties in anticipation of severe winter weather. The storm is expected to bring dangerous driving conditions, specifically to southern Alabama. and it's prompted the possible closure of state offices. The emergency will last 60 days unless ended sooner. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
I'm Amy Beth Shaver with Alabama Unfiltered Radio, and when I need the news and I need it fast, I turn to Andrea Tice and the Daily Detail. On my way in, it is the most convenient, best way for me to digest what's going on so that I can use it for our show. She tells you what's going on in Alabama that day first and fast. So listen to the Daily Detail with Andrea Tice. Don't miss out.
The Daily Detail is available wherever podcasts are found.
Meteorologist James Spann plans to address the move to cut local weathercasters at stations owned by Allen Media Group during a YouTube broadcast. This hubbing approach centralizes weather forecasting to the Weather Channel in Atlanta and will affect an upwards of 22 stations, including Way TV in Huntsville. Critics, including Spann, question the ability of centralized forecasters to provide accurate localized severe weather coverage, especially for tornado-prone regions. Allen Media Group's decision already triggered layoffs of meteorologists at affected stations, raising concerns about public safety and community engagement. And the Hot Mess Express is a national nonprofit whose Huntsville chapter is assisting women with managing stress and helping with laundry and house cleaning. I'm Katie Hyde in for Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Don't you love the feeling of coming home to a clean house? Let Southern Bells Cleaning Service get your home in order. Families in the River region trust Southern Bells because they know Callan and Jesse will show up on time and believe in cleaning the old-fashioned way. They bring all their own supplies and specialize in full-service, residential, commercial, vacant properties, and construction cleanup. Estimates are always free. Call Southern Bells today at 546-0715 or follow them on Facebook at Southern Bells Cleaning River Region.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. So last week, if you were listening, you might have caught me and Byron Sheehy in real time reacting to an op-ed by State Senator Arthur Orr. And I had to revisit over the weekend, kind of like look into, because when you react in real time, I mean, you're just reacting. It's not like you're really looking into stuff. But, you know, the more I sat on it, I was like, I have to address this. So for those who missed kind of the full op-ed from last week from State Senator Arthur Orr, here's the long and short of it. He says, quote, in the long run, politicians unfortunately often try to score political points with grandstanding stunts and chicanery at the expense of others in government. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that's true. By focusing on the task at hand of improving government, the governor and legislature are slowly making positive changes through the ACES concept. We will continue to build on the early successes of our Alabama Doge of saving taxpayer money and improving our government efficiencies to better serve the needs of all our Alabama citizens. Now, folks, before I start reading my own words in reaction to this, have you ever had a moment where you're like, you have an author you really love, or like a rock band or a musical act where you're like, I have all their albums. I'm a huge fan of, I've got that writer's every single one of his novels, every single one of his books, and somebody says something about your favorite, and you're like, hey, you know nothing. You know, how dare you put that in the same league as these legends that I love. It's kind of how I felt about Arthur Orr talking about Doge. That was the emotional reaction to this. And you don't know. So I wrote, came out today, if you want to read this yourself, there at 1819news.com. But one should never underestimate the speed at which a truly great idea with a good brand will be copied again and again into an oblivion of imitations. Nor should one be surprised by the pace at which such counterfeits will present it as bona fide. Indeed, the speed at which the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, has inspired imitators has been truly breakneck. Of course, ludicrous speed is nothing new for Elon Musk. As recently recounted by NVIDIA CEO, Musk and his team at XAI were able to build the fastest supercomputer on Earth in just 19 days, an engineering feat that by conventional commercial standards should have taken 4 years. What should have taken 4 years was done in 19 days. From the moment of concept to building a massive factory, liquid-cooled, energized, permitted in the short time that it was done, that is superhuman. And as far as I know, there's only one person in the world who could do that. The CEO of NVIDIA told a podcast recently, what they achieved is singular, he goes on. It's never been done before. Just to put it in perspective, 100,000 GPUs is easily the fastest supercomputer on the planet as one cluster. It's a supercomputer that would normally take 3 years to plan, then they deliver the equipment, then it takes 1 year to get it all working. So Musk and team did that in 19 days, not the 4 years or so. Such is but one example of the exuberant efficiency and revolutionary vision Musk will attempt to bring to the federal government through Doge. Whether the Trump White House will actually be willing to move at the speed of Musk remains to be seen. But Musk and his co-counsel at Doge, Vivek Ramaswamy, who is leaving Doge, by the way, to go run for governor of Ohio, which makes me sad, but also best of luck to Vivek. I love that guy. But they've not shied away there, Doge, from dreaming big about their plans to swiftly make the federal government much smaller. I think we'll try for $2 trillion. I think that's like the best case outcome, Musk recently told Stagwell CEO Mark Penn. But I do think that you kind of have to have some overage. I think if we try for $2 trillion, we have a good shot at getting at $1. So the spirit of Doge is simple. Dream big, move fast, and be willing to cut into muscle to cut out the fat. And it is this spirit that has inspired many liberty-loving Alabamians to call for an Alabama Doge. For example, see Jerk Wilkins' December 2024 opinion piece in 1819 News, Alabama needs its own Department of Government Efficiency. Or check out the Alabama Policy Institute's own Alabama Doge Project. Though I do not expect these well-meaning Doge imitators in Alabama to move at the speed of Musk, who can, they do seem to have at least captured the bona fide spirit of the original idea. But the same cannot be said of another Doge imitator here in Alabama, the Alabama Commission on the Evaluation of Services, otherwise known as ACES. First formed in 2019, ACES is the old hipster version of Doge, like you probably haven't even heard of them. In 2019, we created the Alabama Commission on the Evaluation of Services, ACES, an office dedicated to improving both the effectiveness and efficiency of state government, writes State Senator Arthur Orr, who chairs ACES. Governor Kay Ivey was a key early supporter, writes Arthur Orr, and desired to make the effort a joint partnership between the executive and legislative branches. While maintaining a small staff, you will be pleased to know that there have been some early successes. By the way, Orr chairs ACES, and I believe the vice chair is Liz Fillmore, the chief of staff for the governor's office there. Orr goes on to describe those supposedly Doge-like successes, from streamlining inefficiencies in delivery of correctional education to the throttling back of one state-funded K-12 program that apparently had quote-unquote shortcomings. As with football, blocking and tackling unfortunately go ignored, Orr writes. But by getting deeply into programs or costs and delivery, our ACES team is moving the needle of improved outcomes behind the scenes. Orr is correct that blocking and tackling often go ignored, while game-winning touchdowns and championship victories steal the headlines. Yet, what's noticeably lacking when it comes to ACES is any clear scoreboard or win-loss record. Where's the highlight reel? One would think such a successful data-driven team would be happy to advertise their headline-stealing numbers if they had any. Since 2019, how much money has ACES saved Alabama taxpayers? $1 million? $10 million? $100 million? $200 million? Bueller? One would think that number would be front and center on the ACES website, or at least mentioned in Senator Orr's recent op-ed. Yet it's not. Instead, we only get a few examples of small administrative changes being slowly studied and sometimes implemented over 6 years, all wrapped up in a football metaphor. If I may extend the metaphor, I guess ACES is akin to Vanderbilt's football program. We may have never won an SEC championship or even had a 10-win season, but did you see how good our blocking and tackling improved last year? If only Alabamians treated their state government with the same high expectations as their college football. Upon further review, the ACES concept seems the very opposite of the Doge spirit. Dream small, move slowly, and be careful not to cut too much fat for the fear of cutting muscle. Whereas Doge is a revolutionary project meant to move at the speed of Musk, ACES moves at the speed of yet another Alabama State Commission, and would probably be too conservative for Edmund Burke, or even the standards of Chesterton's fence. To claim otherwise, to attempt the stunt of rebranding ACES as a bona fide Alabama Doge, almost verges on chicanery. Almost. Luckily, at least to this political malcontent, it landed as comedy instead. Good one, Senator Orr. And it's just, again, it came back to, like, how dare you? Like, if you had presented ACES as just independently a thing on its own, I'd be like, all right. I mean, it's probably not going to do as much as I would like, but it's not a terrible thing in concept. But to then say, no, we already have a Doge, y'all shut up. Jarek Wilkins, API, all y'all want in a Doge and, big overhaul. We're doing fine. We have budget surpluses. The problem is, how do we spend all this surplus money? And at that point, I start to shake my head. It's trying to cut off a good idea at the pass by presenting a counterfeit as the real thing. And no, I have no desire to see that sort of game played here in the state. That said, I wonder how many people in Alabama are even paying attention to this behind the scenes stuff. I mean, and again, we have Dr. Stuart Tankersley here in the studio with me. How much hope do you have for this session? Because I think it's just going to be more of the same. Like maybe some small things will get done that, like usual, that are good and we should do them. But it does seem like they're going to try gambling again early. If they try it all, it'll come from the Senate side. Like, what else? Is there going to be any major breakthroughs? Because this is the last chance before, you're in an election year, and they're definitely not going to do anything.
Right. Yeah. Where's the leadership, right?
Right.
Up until your article, I had missed the ACES thing. But the idea is that with Trump, Doge is an executive authority. Now you're going to cross it with the legislative authority. I don't know if it can be done. I guess if you have true leadership that has committed to this and is wedded to it and has the integrity to follow through on the campaign promise, I guess it can be done. We'll see if Trump can do it in the big scheme. But why do they have? I thought that the legislature had the ability, if it was inefficient, to not fund it. I mean, right?
You would think, yeah.
Yeah, and so if the executive, and this kind of, I think, one of the things they're going to run into in my limited understanding of all this is, I never understood when I was on the Ethics Commission when I learned that public entities have lobbyists. That doesn't make sense to me. I know Gordon Stone liked Gordon Stone, but why do Alabama and Auburn need paid lobbyists to do the bidding for the public?
Right, and that's just one example of many, yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But it seems to me like if you're in the public entity, I mean, how many hundreds of millions of dollars does the state pay each year to prop up the retirement systems payouts that they're obligated to? I don't understand it. Common sense, like he talked about yesterday in his acceptance speech or in his inauguration. We've got to return to common sense, and some things just don't make sense.
We do need a revolution of common sense, not just nationally, but in our own backyard. And honestly, it's not like just if you just look at dollars and cents in Alabama, more revenues going into the coffers. They are putting a lot of money away into reserves and stuff. I don't think that's a bad idea. I think it's a very good idea. But when your surpluses are so big, maybe they could show me 5-year projections that they're going to be at a razor-thin margin and we're going to be trying to prorate all this stuff. Okay, but I haven't seen that. So if you have like these big surpluses, hundreds of millions of dollars. Why aren't you giving it back to taxpayers? Like, why are you taking it from them?
Yeah, or here's an easy example. The billions of dollars that the state received for COVID, are we going to ever see an accounting of where all that money went?
Well, we know a lot went to the prisons, right? Or the prison. That will be, it was supposed to be 2, but then it'll be 1, I guess. It'll be named after Governor Ivey, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
I hope that they name the morgue Scott Harris Hall. But anyways, yeah, it's a wonderful article, and it goes to what Trump was really all about yesterday, which is the revolution of common sense. We need to get to it, and it's going to require a lot of serious, honest leadership that is willing to speak plainly and expose the things that are unnecessary and ridiculous, and
and then
make corrective actions. Look at DeSantis down in Florida. He's turned a purple state red.
Well, and they've been just a leader on so much, especially the COVID stuff, just breaking with, say, your medical establishment around the nation. And it would be nice to see Alabama jump in that way, because I think our people are fairly similar to many of the people of Florida. It's not like a cultural thing necessarily, unless you start to get really into microcosm of what's the culture on Goat Hill. What's the culture of the folks that are at top flight, say, corporate or C-suites throughout the state of Alabama. That might be the culture that's the issue. But for some reason, you're right. We don't seem to move quickly on, I think, good ideas, new ideas, and we don't seem to be willing in the state often to buck back on bad ideas. It's sort of the groupthink tends to have a stranglehold on certain things. I don't know. Maybe some of that is a culture, like we're polite almost to a fault sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of saying it. I think, and we've mentioned before about this gambling bill, whoever wants to gamble can gamble this minute on their phone. Gambling is available to all Alabamians. Right or wrong, it is. But to give this new entity, these gambling interests, who are always operating above board and complete integrity, to give them their own police force that's unaccountable to any other law enforcement agency, and to, of course, expand Medicaid. It's part of it. That's why UAB has teamed up with the gambling interests. You can't expand Medicaid because in the third year it then automatically goes to bankrupting your state, because the state then has to pay for it all. It's illogical. It's not commonsensical to expand Medicaid when you can't afford it, knowing that it'll bankrupt your state in 3 years. But, look at California, the disasters there. But everything can be summarized if we just get back to leadership that has integrity and forthrightness and compassion to an extent. Okay, yeah, sure, you don't want a dictator. But there has to be a changing of ways that in order to move our state forward. And I guess one of the things that these people that have to check all the aces, I'm sure, for example, would have to make sure that one of the big mules is satisfied with it, and the other one they have to go around the table and make sure they're all satisfied with it. I don't see the trend in our leadership in our state bucking the big mule's interests.
Well, and I get why people rely on committees and study commissions. You're getting buy-in from all sorts of different parties. But I think what we need a dose of in this state is, to your point, not a dictator, but a vigorous executive that inspires folks in the legislature to do bigger things too. And you need that sort of leadership from the top. We'll see. I almost wonder, like when 2010, when the Republicans take over in the state, let's play out a history where they don't immediately call that special and go to the ethics stuff. They instead focused on something else. Like, where will we be in the state? I almost think we'd be in a better place. I don't know, because when the ethics thing came down, it's not the concept of having ethics and standards that I have an issue with. It always seemed like it was a system that could be gamed, and it created more problems than it necessarily. It didn't bring ethics to the state.
Well, it didn't bring ethics to the state because the Republican legislature gutted it 3 or 4 years ago. They promised they were going to rewrite it, but no. The ethics law, I think, exposed how the games were revealed, how the games were played, and so they had to do away with it. I thought that having served on it during those crucial times, once Mike Hubbard was indicted, I remember sitting around with the other commissioners saying, I don't think people know who we are and what we do and what we're responsible for. But I read the regs, and we have an immense amount of responsibility and duties, and they're going to come after us, I'm afraid. And sure enough, they gutted it.
Yeah, and maybe I'm ignorant to how bad it was before the Ethics Commission. So it's just, it seems like we're always, and I'm not trying to undermine your point about, the repentance and, stopping the corruption of the heart and the conscience, these sorts of things. But sometimes I often think corruption is served by always focusing on one shiny object of corruption without dealing with big structural things that you probably need to deal with. Right,
and I think that had we taken the opportunity over the last 10 years to use that ethics law to, it had problems in it, it was flawed, it had some wording issues, and I read a lot of the arguments against it. But the fact is that were the leadership to use it, not for their own gain, but for an opportunity to then force the big mules or the power structures to readjust on a fair perspective, from a fair perspective, our state would have been well served. It was going to take a powerful, strong leader to make that happen. But I was grateful for Bob Riley doing that at the end of his terms. But, when I was on the Ethics Commission, we would get these reports from around the country. And I remember 2 or 3 years running, Alabama was rated the 3rd to 6th most corrupt state in the country. Do I think everybody goes down there like that guy, Johnny, the state rep from Birmingham, who went to prison last year? Do I think everybody went down there with his intentions? Of course not. But they get subsumed into the culture.
Yes.
And if the leadership had taken the responsibilities, and the leadership at the time was wanting, to say the least, for example, Bentley was let loose, I think that there was a wonderful opportunity for the forthrightness of our state to be revealed in its leadership, and we could have been ahead of where Florida is now.
Right. Well, and to make something clear, your point just made me think of this. I get to know some of these state lawmakers. I get to know some of the people, on their staff. I try not to get to know them too much because I like being independent of all of it. But my thought is not like, I don't assume everybody who runs for office is a criminal.
No,
I think
right.
that's the wrong way to think of it.
That's right.
I think most of them are public spirited. They're probably, you'd rather be talking to them at some cocktail party than the average bear. Like they tend to be above average intelligence. They mean well. They're often entrepreneurs, business owners. They're at least good conversationalists, yada, yada, yada. And I think a lot of the folks who mean well get up there and they don't have the power as, say, a single state representative to change too much. I mean, you can make your stands, and some people do that. But there is a sort of system has an antibody response that anybody trying to really shake things up, well, they're going to have problems. And then even some of the folks at the top who are really running that system, I think there's something about, like, you do that job long enough, anybody from the outside, you're like, you just don't understand how it works. Like, you haven't seen what I've seen. You don't understand the stakes. I was having this conversation with Judge Knapp earlier about, like, Mike Johnson or Tulsi Gabbard changing her mind on things. And until you're in that chair, sometimes you don't feel the same pressures you might if you're relaxed in a radio studio. I get it. But for whatever reason, I think the outcomes end up being bad. And you end up having, well, some people are criminals, but that's not my assumption. It's more like the necessities of politics make fairly good people on an average day sometimes do some pretty naughty things.
Right. I think that, but remember, courage is infectious. Courage is infectious, as is corruption. But I guess another way of summarizing is, I don't know, I am no smarter than the average doctor, the other doctors in the state, but why only 1% of us have been right about COVID for so long throughout the last 5 years, we've had the Lord's blessed us with discernment, I guess, is the number one reason. But why won't the other ones acknowledge that they got it wrong and move on. I mean, for example, I do not need any of these doctors to apologize to me.
Yeah.
They need to for themselves. I don't need to. I don't need their it's happened twice, and I was grateful for them, and I was thankful for them to do that because, like I explained to them, that's so good for you. And I'm not saying that at all in a from a point of arrogance, but that type of acceptance of, wait a minute, I was hoodwinked, I was trapped in a bad way of thinking. That's what it's going to take. And I think that leadership can protect those under them to do just that.
Exactly.
And so that's what my hope and prayer is.
272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. This part of the program, again, brought to you by Pest Pro Services. Go check out their website, folks. It's ppsriverregion.com. There you see all the different pests they can deal with and treat. Especially, I'm thinking about rodents this time of year. I'm seeing the snow. It's getting pretty thick out there. I can see it it's really sticking to the ground out there. If you're cold when you step outside, those little rodents and other creatures are going to be looking for a warm place too. And of course, Pest Pro Services is always ready to help you. They can do that everyday pest control company function. I mean, they're not visiting you every day, but on a regular basis, they're there to make sure you don't have a problem in the first place. But if you do have an emergency all of a sudden, of course, Pest Pro can also help you out there. And they also do things like new construction. If you're just starting to build in this new year, they can help you through that process. Don't have to wait till the house is actually stood up. They can be on top of it from the get-go. Not just residential services. Of course, they can treat your home, but also commercial services. If you're running a business, consider Pest Pro Services. And things like fungus control, which once the fungus gets out of control, you got a real issue. Y'all check out Pest Pro Services today. You can always call them to make an appointment at 265-9990. That's 265-9990. Or like I said, go to ppsriverregion.com or just look them up on the Book of Faces on Facebook. And be sure to tell Ashley and that great team there that Joey, that guy on the radio, sent you. Hopefully we'll be having Pest Pro folks from the team there, Ashley, Zach, and others, on the airwaves, so that the folks themselves who will be doing the job can let you know exactly how good they are, because they are that good, folks. Just look at the growth they've experienced in the last 3-4 years. Ashley's a great entrepreneur and just good for the community, and happy to have her as a sponsor with Pest Pro Services. Let's go to line 1 real quick here. You're on there. Who's this?
It's Papa B.
Hey, Papa B. What's up?
Hey, man. Well, I'm telling you what, the bridge is just starting to freeze over, and I mean for real. Accumulating on the sides, of course, but you got to kind of watch yourself, even where you look. It looks like that it's melted, because it's not. I just slid a little bit on one of these bridges.
Okay.
Heading back up to the house, so be careful out there. Who you got in there with you today, Joey?
Dr. Stuart Tankersley.
Oh, hey, Doc.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. So, interesting as we see, a lot of the Democrats kind of melt away and weeping and gnashing of teeth sometimes, but I'm telling you, Joey, where I stand on this is this country has been spared great evil. First of all, with the election of Donald Trump in 2016, when Hillary Clinton was going to be the next up, and this time as well, I firmly believe that had Donald Trump not been elected in 2016, we may very well have gone into a civil war. I equate it to kind of dealing with an out-of-control, spoiled child, trying to poke and get you to react. Oh, you like that? Okay, you can let us say that. How about this? Oh, you okay with that? Well, how about this? That's constantly upping the game, trying to see what it is that is finally going to make you mad enough to do something about it. And that's what the Democrats have been up to for a very, very long time now. To the credit of the American people, They have not taken the bait. But, you know, if things get too bad, you know, what choice do you have in some times, you know? There's the word for what needs to happen, and it is kind of a military word. Y'all will tell me more about this than I know, but it's called pacification. Now, Donald Trump has decided, I presume, to try to do it politically. And it looks like for the moment he's succeeded. But there are some people that are so sold out to doing really bad things that you just can't do anything with them. We have been not requested, but required to tolerate the intolerable for far too long in this country. And we cannot allow this opportunity to slip by, in my opinion, without going ahead and resolving that particular problem. Not suggesting force of arms or any kind of violent thing, but we've got to at least marginalize those that would, you know, have these kind of techniques so much so that it just doesn't get tried again. Now, y'all tell me where I'm wrong about all that.
So, Papa B, my question would be, for example, I would hope and pray every one of these Democrats and Republicans who have been a part of the problem as well would repent and come on board with the truth. But, for example, if talking about the need for change, what about Montgomery's mayor?
Prime example.
Right. And so he's not going to have the cover from the Justice Department like he had probably under Biden. But the reality is, who is harmed the most by Mayor Reed's ridiculousness?
Well, the citizens of Montgomery and those, brave employees of the city that might want to try to obey the law and follow city codes. Yeah.
Right. Well, the weakest, the poorest are harmed the most. And
yes, absolutely, I agree with that.
And so it's not just this innocuous boogeyman out there. There are real people that have made real decisions that harm other people, whether it's Fauci to a large measure or Stephen Reed. I mean, what he has done in his leadership, quote unquote, position, other than benefit himself, he just rather than ideals, he deals in my deals. And
it's a purposeful dereliction of duty, sir. That's what we're up against with Mayor Reed. He has been derelict in his duty on purpose and for cause.
But what would he expect? The question goes back to leadership. What gave you any confidence that his past experiences in life, whether running a sandwich shop or whatever, would lead to forthrightness in his governance here in Montgomery?
I never did have any confidence in it.
Well, what would anybody? Right? Where's the evidence for it? And I would hope that, my hope and prayer is he's the mayor for the next 50 years after he repents and changes his ways dramatically. I don't care who it is.
Right.
But this guy clearly came in with his deals, not ideals. And it's very unfortunate. And, of course, the poor and the weaker suffer the most.
Well, I got to hit a break here, but I appreciate the call, Pop.
Let me call in. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. And good discussion, but I was a little distracted. My uncle just sent me snow falling down in his backyard in Auburn with his brand new Labradoodle puppy running around in it. So something so adorable sometimes
send a picture
distracts. This part of the program brought to you by Sweet Creek Farm Market, and there at Sweet Creek, Reed Ingram is ready to help you out. And they've got an amazing selection there, whether you're stopping by their award-winning cafe for some great coffee or looking for a sweet treat, like a big old hubcap-sized cookie or layer cake, or they do all sorts of sweet baked goods. Of course, you can get some grocery shopping done there at Sweet Creek as well. And they always have great events going on, so that means you should go like Sweet Creek Farm Market on Facebook to know the latest they have coming up. It's really a great destination, especially if you're a mom, you got kids, you want them to have a place to play while you get to shop a little bit. That's Sweet Creek Farm Market. They got a whole playground area with the farm animals running around. Reed Ingram has put together an amazing establishment. So again, stop by, see Reed Ingram there at Sweet Creek Farm Market, just 2 miles south of Taylor Road on Highway 231. And be sure to tell him that Joey, that guy on the radio, sent you.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with an elk. Hey man, Mr. Elk, I was just wondering, what do elk do to take care of their money? Well, like most smart folks, we call David Erdit. You mean Alabama's most favorite asset preservationist? That's him, man. We call him up at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. I see. Yes, he is our preferred money man. The money man with the money plan. You've been paying attention. Well, could you give us those numbers one more time? 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. And I just want to try to give you a heads up, man. Oh, what's that? I'm not an elk. Not an elk, huh? Well, then, pray tell, what are you? Knights of Columbus. I am not even going to make a comment. Well, the baby liked it.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com. This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks VapoStick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom. Vicks VapoStick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors. Use as directed. VapoStick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower Max use for adults only.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of H&H Carpets across from Walmart on the Atlanta Highway, where right now you can get 1,050 square feet of carpet installed for $19.95 only at H&H Carpets in Montgomery.
Rich Thomas Weather. Well, hi, everybody. Snow continues across central and south Alabama and will for the next few hours. Very little accumulation is expected here in the river region, but you don't have to go far south to get into some real travel nightmares. Significant snowfall accumulation now across south Alabama. Locally, I think the snow will fade out by early evening, and then the roads could freeze again overnight. It would probably will. Overnight low temperature 15, so we could see some icy and maybe dangerous spots tomorrow morning. Big improvement tomorrow afternoon with a high temperature up to about 38 with plenty of sunshine, and back to the teens again on Wednesday night. Our weather app will keep you on top of the action. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
You can make your ASE loan payment from your phone anytime, anywhere. It's quick and easy. YourASECreditUnion.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Opportunity Lender.
The River Region's News Talk Station. News Talk 93.1, WACV. News Talk 93.1.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. It is coming down, snowing outside. Everybody be very careful indeed on the roads. 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. That's 334-272-9228. Earlier I mentioned, and I kind of want to just share this because it really is happening. You're wondering what's the next thing for Democrats and the left? And I think this idea that they're dead or whatever, no. That's never the case. Every time it's like the GOP's dead. No. The Democratic Party's been in business for centuries now. I think they're the oldest political party on earth at the moment, still operating. So don't
they
count
had
them.
$1 billion running for a president, so they're not out of money.
And don't kid yourself. They have a lot of young, very well-spoken, very charming people ready to go, and who can go on a Joe Rogan podcast, who can really be quite charming, as we say. There's always somebody in wait, so you got to wonder what's going to be the tack next. And I think some of this is now starting to admit what Trump is. Instead of fighting him as the new Hitler, which is just absurd, and some are still doing that. I don't think you're convincing anybody, guys. Compare folks to Nazis. It's now going to be more admitting who Trump is, admitting the moment, and then sort of being that ally who's like, well, I want to take it a little direction, even though we agree on 80% of things. I think that's where smart Democrats are going to go. And this columnist, the global editor for Politico, so he must be a graybeard. He's been at this a while. Liberal, his day is long. Says, time to admit it, Trump is a great president. He's still trying to be a good one. So again, there's always little wrinkles to this. But the second occasion, I'm reading direct here from this piece, the second occasion of Trump taking the oath of office also put him in an entirely new light. For the first time, Trump is holding power under circumstances in which reasonable people cannot deny a basic fact. He is the greatest American figure of his era. Let's quickly exhale. Great in this context is not about the subjective debate over whether he's a singularly righteous leader or singularly menacing one. It is now simply an objective description about the dimensions of his record. He began a decade ago by dominating the Republican Party. He soon advanced to dominating every discussion of American politics broadly. Now, his astonishing comeback after his defeat by Biden in 2020 and the notoriety of January 6th, the riot there, makes clear that there are certain things he is not, and one big thing he is. He is not a fluke who got elected initially in 2016 almost entirely because of the infirmities of his opponent. He is not someone the American public somehow misunderstands, as though Democrats and the news media have not spent 10 years forcefully highlighting the risks of his record and character. He is someone with an ability to perceive opportunities that most politicians do not, and forge powerful, sustained connections with large swaths of people in ways that no contemporary can match. In other words, he's a force of history. This is amazing, folks. This is from Politico, from one of their longtime editors. This is something his most ardent supporters, still shy of a national majority, have never doubted, but something others, myself included, writes this gentleman, have been slow to reckon with. The inaugural address and a raft of hundreds of executive orders Trump has promised for his opening days in office make it impossible to avoid. For Democrats, and most excruciatingly Biden and former Vice President Harris, the inaugural ceremony and all it symbolizes were a meal made of ingredients scraped off the kennel floor. Once they gargle and spit, however, the opposition party may find something liberating about the moment. That is because they can no longer place confidence in a strategy that once looked plausible but now has been exposed as illusion. They cannot push Trump to the margins by treating him as a momentary anomaly or simply denouncing him as lawless and illegitimate. Some voters bought that, but not enough to win an election. Opponents have no choice but to acknowledge he and his movement represent a large historical argument, and then rally similarly large arguments to defeat it. Trump in 2020 showed himself ready to undermine democracy for his own purposes. Again, I'm reading a big lib here.
Right.
Trump in 2024 showed that he is a potent expression of democracy. And, I mean, this goes on. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but that's amazing.
Well, right. What is missing in that assessment is, or self-reflection in a way, is an understanding that, to me, the Democratic Party stands against life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And he's not reckoned, maybe later in the article he deals with that, but they need to wake up to the reality of what Americans are now well aware of, and they no longer have their Praetorian Guard of the media. And so they need to reckon with, do we believe in life? Do we believe in freedom?
Right.
Do we believe in the pursuit of happiness? Because clearly their policies are against it.
Yeah, do we believe in what is common sense to the average American? And I like that you said the party, because a lot of folks hear that. They hear Democratic Party, they hear Republican Party, and they think everybody who votes. Like, I've always voted Democrat. No, I'm not talking about y'all. go vote every 2-4 years. Thank you for doing that. When you're talking about the party elite, the billionaire class, the administrative state folks, the academics, the media folks, that's really where you're starting to see this rot. And that has to be reckoned with.
Right. I think 2008, when Obama ran the first time, he tried to get the word God out of their entire platform, and he got spanked, and he told he had to put it back, and so they put it back in one place. And then in 2012, it was missing completely. There is no foundation to them other than just self-propagation. And I really do hope, for everybody's benefit, that Epstein's files are made public, as are P. Diddy's, and we can really, for those who've been able to see it, the moral rot that is at the core of these entities and this party. And you need competition.
Yeah.
And there is no competition right now to the Trump party in regards to moral standing. And you can say that as a guy who is convicted. Of course, it was a travesty how they did it. But even if it takes him to reveal it, whatever happens, that's fine by me, just so long as people accept the reality of what this party stood for.
Well, and you said something just a second ago. They believe in their own propagation. And I think that's why the Democratic Party has survived for so long. They believe in power.
Period.
Gaining more power, expanding that power, using it to win more power. And I think they just ran up against a guy who really is a force of history that stopped them in their tracks, who exploited new technology and media better than they ever thought.
But he also had foundational principles.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what they're ignoring. This guy's ignoring.
Yeah. And he's been pretty consistent for decades, whether you agree with him or not. I mean, and it comes down to things that you don't put in a white paper or you write in an op-ed. It's like that moment when he's shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, and in that moment he rises up. And it's that sort of psychological toughness, that innate courage that I'm not going to be cowed. I think that really is admirable.
Yeah, and don't forget, simultaneous to that horrible event, where whoever was in charge allowed it or made it happen, where he was almost murdered in broad daylight. Simultaneous to that was the Democrats, what they did to their own their own electorate, where they just dismissed all the the votes that Biden got, and summarily dismissed him.
Right.
The vote does not count to these people. What counts to these people is power and money.
272-9228. This part of the program, again, brought to you by Josh and Leslie Ryder there at Dillon Rings. And again, at Dillon Rings, they are a full-service jewelry shop. They have amazing stuff in selection, from high-end jewelry items to that everyday jewelry that's not going to break the bank or break your heart if you lose it on a fun night on the town or something, but you still want to look good. But then, of course, they can also do things like spa treatments. Maybe you have an old piece of jewelry that you wear all the time. It's like become part of your daily uniform. But, because you wear it all the time, you've been wearing it for years, it doesn't shine and shimmer like it once did. Well, it can shine and shimmer anew again after a spa treatment at Dillon Rings. They also do repair work, custom design work, appraisals. They do it all there. That's why I keep calling them a full-service jewelry shop. So y'all check them out. They're located at 119 Brown Springs Road here in Montgomery, just off of Atlanta Highway, kind of the backside of the AUM complex. I remember it's where the old fun zone used to be. I miss those days working there. But y'all get by 119 Brown Springs Road, and be sure to tell Josh and Leslie that Joey, that guy on the radio, sent you. We'll be right back.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
No one wants to wait on service for an overhead door. With 20 years in the industry, you now have access to the best with All Access Overhead Door. All Access Overhead Doors offers prompt professional service at affordable prices on all service and new garage doors for residential and commercial locations. All Access Overhead Door serves the river region and can take care of whatever you need when it comes to your overhead door. Remember, you have access to the best. All Access Overhead Door. Call and schedule an appointment today. 320-2440. And like them on Facebook. They sell the best in service the rest.
This is Ryan Turner with Infusion Wellness Center. We've been advertising with Blue Water Broadcasting for about 3 years now, and it's a great way to get your name out there and reach the people your business needs to grow and succeed. Highly recommended.
Radio works. It's as simple as that. Call us to find out how radio can work for your business. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Live local talk. The River Region's only 24-hour News Talk FM station. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. Really appreciate Dr. Tankersley hanging out here for 2 hours, keeping me company. It's not like you were working today either, though. I think almost everybody shut down.
Yeah, we canceled this afternoon's.
So normally we talk to Ray Bowles at this time, but he seems to be busy. And if you're looking for a great resurfacing job, Prattville Carpet are the folks to go with. Could be a new construction, and you want to work with Prattville Carpet from the ground up. Could be you want to, get a new ceramic tile bathroom put down, new floors, including heated floors. You might be thinking about that right now. Man, I wish I got those heated floors a few months back. Could use that right now. They could also, do ceramic tile on the kitchen countertops, backsplash there. They also do traditional hardwood, of course, carpet. It's in the name there, Prattville Carpet, luxury vinyl plank laminate products, and they will travel to you. They'll do a free in-home measurement. And once you pick out the product you want to resurface, they'll know here's how much it's going to cost. Here's how long it's going to take. It's pretty quick and painless. So y'all check them out today. That number, Prattville Carpet, 285-8117. And be sure to tell them that Joey, that guy on the radio, sent you. Let's field a few calls here before we close up shop. Line 1, you're on there. Who's this?
Hey, guys, I just want to thank the doctor one more time for coming on. I enjoyed listening and listening to him. And I just want to say some of these hard problems that we have for America, the secret sauce is pretty simple. The secret sauce is common sense. And Democrats have common sense. Republicans have common sense. Everyday Americans have common sense.
Sure.
It's what comes out of our government that didn't. But that's going to change now. Because that's what we want to bring in is common sense, and I think the doctor is bringing in common sense, and I think your show brings in common sense. And because if we don't all know it all, but we can talk about it, and I want to thank your show, Joey. And you guys, Joey, are you guys on YouTube somewhere?
Yeah, Joey Clark Live on YouTube.
Joey Clark Live. I'm going to try to look that up on my doohickey here.
Go for it, man.
Hey, man, I'm just saying thank y'all.
Thank you,
and
Robert.
Thank you to the doctor. Thank you to the doctor.
Thank you very much, Robert.
Let's go to line 3. You're on there. Who's this?
Charles first.
Hey,
How you
Charles.
doing, Joey? Hello, Dr. Tankersley.
Hey, good afternoon.
I wanted to bring up, since you were talking about to not underestimate the Democrats, the Alabama elections taking place this year and what the Republican Party is doing, which is allowing a crossover vote of the Chamber of Commerce AEA Democrats who know that they will be unsuccessful in November, but to overpower the Republican vote that really counts. We have the persons that are going to win. And we need to do something about it, but we also need to be aware of it and make the Republican leaders where they will change this. So there won't be a crossover of those Democrats that know to do it to change our party, y'all.
Yeah, I think that is a very, very important issue that I hope it is changed this year. It It's past due, way past due. We want to lead the state, the people in charge, far too long.
Well, and counterintuitively, it might up voter turnout in a primary. Yeah. Like if you do a drive to sign up, register to be a Republican, you're probably going to show up if you did that initially. So it might actually help in many ways.
I think only 18% of people, Republicans, vote in the primaries in our state. And if you increase that by 4 or 5%, you can get the true DeSantis types in places of authority and responsibility.
Hear, hear.
Well, thanks a lot for hearing me out. And Dr. Tankersley, anything that you could do that could help along that, because you do have your voice is heard a lot and really respected, sir. So please try to help with that and all that you can. And y'all have a great day.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Very important issue.
And it looks like we got time for line one. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, Joey, it's Woody. How you doing?
Good, Woody. How you doing?
I'm all right. I was coming down Perryville Road about 30 minutes ago, and there was a car that spun around, and my truck, my rear wheels spun around. So be careful coming home.
Yeah, how's the neighborhood look?
It's pretty. It's snowy. It looks clean.
Be as safe as possible. I appreciate the wise word there.
No problem, man. Take it easy.
Thank you.
Yeah, he lives in the same neighborhood as me and will often wave and honk at me in his truck. And so, yeah, I'm going to make the dangerous trek down Perry Hill Road.
Yeah, that's right. By the way, I have a podcast. It's on America Out Loud Pulse, and it's in the top 1% of health podcasts in the country. And it plays live on Tuesdays at 4 p.m., 5 p.m. Eastern. And you can go on Thursdays. Usually, it's posted on the website America Out Loud Pulse. We're very grateful. Every time before we do a show, we pray that we would speak the truth and it'd fall on receptive hearts and minds. And the Lord's certainly been gracious in giving us listeners.
Well, I appreciate your time, and y'all do check out the podcast. It's in the top there of health podcasts for good reason. Y'all stay tuned. Happy Hour with Greg Bedell. He's next.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.